Where are we rewinding to? Come on, I had a clear, fresh idea in my mind, and I've
all right, Joe, just start from the top. I'll do better this time.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work.
Welcome to Somehow You Didn't Die on Your Way to Work. I am the one sane host still left, or the sane regular host. This is Zach Lybrand. And losing his mind over there, slipping into dementia slowly, is Mr. Joe Zeta. And we have a very special guest tonight because we're trying to wrap our brains around something that we don't fully understand.
British Rail.
We've got British Rail is an enigma to us Americans. So we've got our expert on the case. At least he sounds like an expert to us, and we're very pleased to introduce our guest tonight, Mr. Gareth Dennis.
Hello. Yeah, I'm your Brit vibes specialist. You've brought on an expert in, and everything about this accident, almost everything about this accident, is outside my expertise wheelhouse. We're having fun tonight, folks. It's good. I have strong opinions, however, on this,
That's
and a lot of this.
We love strong opinions.
This is 2025. Facts opinions are better than facts.
Yeah, and also this is a strong Brit vibes accident, non-accident, in fact. We'll get there, but this is like major Brit vibes. So you've brought me on as the Brit vibe specialist, who also happens to be a railway engineer
and published author.
Glad to be here.
You have
I'm published author. Yeah, I do have a book.
Published author, podcaster, YouTuber. What don't you do?
Sleep and have a functioning heart. Those two. I don't do those. It's fine.
Are you part of the Broken Heart Club, and not in the sense that you have lost your love?
No,
I'm part of that club.
Not officially, because if I acknowledge it as reality, I have to deal with it.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
I firmly ignore my arrhythmia. That's not something that you need to know about or I need to know about. It's firmly for the little voice in my head to say, nope, you didn't notice that. Nope, nobody, nope,
you didn't feel that.
La.
I just have
there's a hereditary condition that I may have that I'm at a pretty high risk for, but if I don't go get an EKG, it doesn't exist.
Exactly, and admittedly, for you, that's bankrupting. Whereas at least for me, although as Liam off of W2IP says, Americans live like they have free healthcare.
Yep.
No, I saw what I ate for lunch today. I'll buy that.
No, we're this is gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to this. I'm extremely excited. This is good fun.
I'm so excited for this today. I'm so excited. I need to pull up the notes for the podcast so that I know what I'm looking at here.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm terrified. I've been trying to wrap my head around certain aspects of this for about 3 weeks now, and I still don't have a full grasp on it.
I was being asked questions, dear listeners. I was, in fact, viewers. There's a visual element to this. So, viewers and listeners, there is. I was being asked questions on Discord about people behind the curtain about like brake pipe time, like timings of the flow of the vacuum through that. And I have to say, I was sat going, Christ, this is some deep shit. I am out of my depth already, and I'm so excited to continue on that vein towards the end of this podcast. It's great. There is so much technical detail that we're going to be getting into, and you're going to know much more than me about. As I say, I'm here as the Brit Vibes expert and part-time, full-time railway engineer.
This is a very nuanced sort of incident. Like, it seems on its face that it's just these guys were stupid, and then you look at it, and not only is it stupidity all the way down, but it's one of those, like, it's a Swiss cheese accident. At any point, somebody could have not done something.
Yeah, it's a Swiss cheese accident where one slice of Swiss cheese was thankfully not rotated correctly, and so we didn't end up, spoiler alert, T-boning a high-speed train. So,
but
it's good times, yeah.
Yes.
Which, to be fair, that it not T-boning the high-speed train is how we're justifying talking about a heritage steam excursion on a transit podcast, because I'm just going to presume that there were commuters on that high-speed train that didn't get T-boned.
Yes. Oh, this was so close to being an unbearable mess, and we'll get into the aftermath, but like it did not send quite the shudders through the industry that it should have. It sent some serious shudders, but not that it should have. But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
So,
All right.
and before we get ahead of ourselves even further, we have to, of course, do the news, which I have been told by people that the news is too long. So you'll see up here in this riot of a slide that this is the news brief. I'm going to set a 10-minute timer on my phone, and we're going to cover all of this. And then we're going to go on to the next slide where we cover one topic. So, okay, 10-minute timer started. If we see over here on the far left, we see what happens when you Google SEPTA and click the news tab, which is that everything is fucked.
Oh, no. I was chatting to Roz about this. Roz is in the UK a week or two ago.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Which was fun. And, oh, no, it's just not going well for SEPTA right now.
So SEPTA is fucked. SEPTA is not getting funding in the PA state budget. SEPTA is renting 10 commuter rail cars from Maryland's MARC system to help with regional rail issues.
Oof.
And then on top of that, this is all just their heavy rail stuff. Their trolley system had an oopsie from earlier this year that the NTSB and the FTA the Federal Transit Administration just came down with and said, nah, fam, you have to inspect all of your trolleys. Because if I can direct our attention to this bottom slide right here, do you see?
Oh, yeah. I see what's happened there. Is that there's some pantograph arms that have made an uninvited trip within the passenger saloon.
Now we learned in the episode with the news brief about the incident with DART in Dallas a few months ago that the pantograph, the overhead, and all associated equipment is supposed to normally stay outside of the car.
Yeah, it's not supposed to
this is a little bit of an issue.
It's not supposed to look like that. And also, live, you can assume that kit, as any good railway engineer will tell you, any good railroad engineer will tell you, assume anything that is near stuff that's live is live. I wouldn't want to be a passenger and suddenly have a buzz cut and a buzz at the same time from whatever voltage of DC is flowing through those trolley cables. You're not good. I don't like it.
Transit in the US is 600 volt DC or something around that.
Yeah, several hundred amps.
Because this gets drilled into you, and when you're a rail engineer, this gets drilled into you. DC blows a hole through you. Yes. AC fries all your skin off and takes all your hair away, and basically sends you up in a conflagration and melts all your skin off. DC just basically is a shotgun, and it will just do a straight line and blow a hole through you. So in this case, through the head.
Yeah, so you die.
That's usually you don't live.
Speaking of blowing holes in heads, Dick Cheney died.
Excuse me.
Yes, he did.
Dick Cheney died. That was the best transition I could ever manage to do.
Blowing holes in head, or indeed buckshot into faces. Yeah.
What is buckshot but a series of small holes?
This is where I need to right. I'm testing whether my my drops deck arrives, because I should have been lined up ready for this, because the noises that should be making their way down through the airwaves as a result of actually I've got a good one for poor SEPTA actually here, which of course is
Pennsylvania dominance.
Well, I don't know about that one.
Yeah,
they're not dominating.
As a resident of Ohio, I'm contractually obligated not to like them that Pennsylvania that much.
But also the Dick Cheney news, of course.
That's perfect. That's fantastic.
Anyway, yeah. So hooray!
Where were you on the episode where we covered Charlie? No, never mind. I'm not touching it.
Yeah, that one hasn't aired yet. We don't know if we'll be canceled by the right yet. But anyways, if we go directly above Dick Cheney into heaven, actually no, this isn't
just regular Earth. I think is above.
Yeah.
Whatever. We've got the news that the shareholders for Norfolk Southern and Union Pacific have overwhelmingly approved the merger documents for the upcoming merger between the two railroads. We've been talking about this for a while. It's not big news. That's why it's so small. Also, because
it's not big news, but it's also like the beginning of the monorailway, and I don't mean like not in a Simpsons way.
It's also because this came out like earlier today, this news, so I had to stick it in here. We're recording this on November 14th. if because actually I think this will be coming out near Christmas by the time we get everything else up, or
Jesus.
my birthday, which is in early December. So one of the two. There's a song involved in either event. Go now everything else in this sort of like arch shape around this picture of a train, and actually no, just this big torus like shaped around the this picture of a train here, all has to do on relatively the same subject. So because we'll all have forgotten by December, the US government was shut down for over a month, longest federal shutdown in history. And it was, of course, over whether or not poor people deserve health care, which, as we all know, they don't.
And food.
Well, you don't need.
Oh yeah, the food as well, of course.
We have an obesity
Food was a
epidemic.
bit-
Nobody needs food.
The worst way to go about that.
But in any event, one of the many, many knock-on effects of it was that air traffic controllers and transportation security agency agents were having to come into work without pay for an extended period of time, which meant that over the last couple of weeks, up until just yesterday or the day before, basically they were slowly whittling down by attrition as people caught, the poverty flu where they didn't come into work, or they had to get second jobs, or they had to do something else, or they just quit. And so we were seeing a massive spike in air traffic controller shortages, which meant that we were seeing a lot of flights being restricted. You couldn't, like, airports were having slots limited everywhere. If we see up here, private flights were getting starting to get dinged a little bit, which might have been why this was sort of ramrodded through. It started affecting some other people. And
then, hey, what kind of people can afford private planes?
Elon Musk.
Good people, I'm sure. Good people. The government shut. Turns out that the wonderful success story that is the private aviation industry in the US actually is extremely heavily reliant on mass public funded infrastructure. Who could have thought?
Shocker. I love that you have drops for this. That's perfect. Anyways, other issues we have are, obviously less air traffic controllers on scene, which led to a couple of near misses that only the NTSB reports will tell if they were actually directly related to this. But in spirit, they were. If right down here, which is a screenshot from people.com, because they covered it for some reason.
Okay.
This actually was also caught on a live stream, because this was at LAX, and there's a guy out there who live streams all the different takeoffs and landings. An ITA Airways flight, which is the current state carrier of Italy, because Alitalia went away because they were Italian, and they turned after takeoff and flew directly in front of an American Airlines flight on Halloween. And they said sorry on the radio as they flew away, which is the correct.
Oh, I saw that one word response, and I was really hoping it was just going to be like, whoopsies.
That is the correct Italian way to deal with almost killing 300 people, is sorry and then leave.
Leave and then never look back.
Yes. So they said sorry and left. The other one is local to me, but it is getting a full NTSB investigation. A Southwest Airlines flight coming out of, I want to say, either Nashville or Midway, was landing at Cleveland Hopkins International Airport and was almost the latest victim of local health system Metro Health, which when one of their life flight helicopters flew directly in front of it.
Oh my!
Having listened to the air traffic control tape, the life flight helicopter was asking to go above the descending Southwest Airlines flight, and they just didn't ascend fast enough, and they ended directly in front of it. The 737 had a TCAS activation and diverted away. It was fine, but Metro Health is one of those hospitals you go to and then they kill you.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I have quality healthcare.
A friend of ours
in the US.
A friend of ours, her daughter works there, and they almost gave her an air embolism when she had her appendix taken out. So if you live in the general Ohio area, don't go to Metro.
Not only is healthcare expensive for the people who receive the healthcare in the US, but also it's extremely expensive for everyone else as well. It's
Yeah.
Another
And then
podcast, I
we're
think.
almost at the 10-minute mark, so I've timed this perfectly.
Oh,
The picture in
perfect.
the center right here is Toledo Amtrak Station in Toledo, Ohio. I took this photo at midnight because I'm
It's
insane.
nice.
That's a great
I
photo.
like
I love
everything
that.
I'm looking at. It's all very pleasant to me.
This is the first Amtrak ARO set, the AIRO sets, the new integrated DMU with a pusher cab on one end.
Yes.
That is being used specifically for this one is specifically for Amtrak Cascade service. So I made the trip out there because it's being hauled to Philadelphia to do testing on the Northeast Corridor where the freight railroads can't interfere with it.
Yeah. Those fuckers.
So at the
That's
other
going to be a sight to see. I can't wait
when
to see
Norfolk
the
Southern
videos of that.
at the
when
other end
Norfolk
of,
Southern can't throw a coal train in front of it. Things
oh,
are
they
just
still they still can. There's a bit in Maryland where they have trackage rights down it.
I was going to say, wait a minute. Yeah, no, I know that because it's next to it's next to Aberdeen, I believe,
Yeah.
is where one of those happened fairly,
But,
well, not that recently, but yeah.
But yeah, no, this is just it was really cool to see it. It actually was on it was running right behind the Floridian, which was the other major Amtrak train through at that time of night. It was just cool to see. I just wanted to throw it in here. And that's actually 10 minutes on the dot. So or like 10 minutes, 10 minutes 10. I'm sorry. So we're gonna go on to
Hey, that's record setting for us.
Very
did
nice.
I miss anything on here? I don't think I did.
I don't think so.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna now go to the next slide. Now we have the news long.
Oh dear.
So this is
yes.
UPS Airlines flight 2976. UPS 2976 was a McDonnell Douglas MD-11F. I'm going to try and do this from memory. November 259 uniform Papa, which was flying from.
Did you memorize the tail number?
Shut the fuck up! I don't judge you.
This is not the autism judging corner here. Now, come on.
I took a test once, and I'm not.
I am mostly in awe. A little bit of it is just like you're this much into the planes as well. I don't know how you juggle that much.
Oh, trust me, I'm into cars too. And
I know.
boats.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm trains. I'm into cars, although and also I'm fascinated by aircraft and particularly air crashes. So yeah,
I blame the Scholastic Book Fair having a book called The Things That Go, and it was just all transportation in one small book. And it's gone from there. Although that and Shining Time Station, which was how we got Thomas the Tank Engine in the U.S.
Oh yeah, with the weird Thomas the Tank Engine with live action bits.
Yep.
Strange. Yeah.
Yep.
With George Carlin.
George Carlin, and earlier than that, Ringo Starr.
That's right. Ringo was first, then George
Yeah,
Carlin.
you snagged Ringo, didn't you? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But anyway, so to give some basic information on this, it was going from Louisville's Muhammad Ali International Airport, which I didn't know they'd renamed it. It was apparently only a few years ago in 2019. God, that's 6 years ago. Fuck. And then it goes going to Daniel Inouye Airport in Honolulu. And it sounds like a bit, but the engine fell off.
Because there's a lot of videos out on this one. It's staggering how many videos there are.
We do have one,
and there's one where you see the thing go up and an engine, and there is visible flame coming off a stem of a pylon.
It's probably the one we have in the corner here.
Oh, here we go then.
We're going to play that last just because we want to sort of front load all the other information in case people are disturbed by it. Basically, the airplane
genuinely is disturbing. Yeah,
the airplane basically did a modernized version of American Airlines Flight 191, which American 191, for those who aren't initiated, was a passenger DC-10 in the 70s that the number one engine came off. The airplane made it into the air at O'Hare Airport and then crashed into an auto salvage yard just outside the airfield grounds. And this did the exact same thing. It skimmed the roof of a UPS warehouse, you can see right here in the center picture, and then proceeded to crash into a waste oil recycling facility. Which
great place for a lot of fire.
A great place for that, and then proceeded to basically run, and then skipped over and crashed into a truck, like a semi-truck parking facility, and then crashed headlong into an auto salvage place that was like, I don't know if they have it in the UK, Gareth, but there's a brand of chains called Pull Apart, which this was not a pull apart, but it's a similar thing where you can go out to a field of dead cars and pull bits off of them that you need.
I
And
mean, we have those, but they're usually like they're like in town, like just outside the town center. It's run by a guy called Baz, and it's like it's about the size of half a football field,
no,
and there's
these
just
are
shit piled up. There's a
the
similar vibe.
yeah, these are much on a much larger scale. And anyways, this one was open for business, had customers in the facility at the
Bloody
time.
hell.
And so, as far as we know, 14 people to date are dead, 3 of whom are the flight crew up here, which is shit. I made the image so small
Oh,
that
I'm so proud of you.
I can't read it. We have
Oh, don't
Captain
make
Richard Wartenberg, and First Officer Lee Truitt, and then Reserve Captain Dana Diamond, who he was apparently the 4th most senior guy at UPS total and had the single highest hours of any MD-11 captain in the airline.
wow.
And he was basically the reserve captain for the long overwater portions of the flight.
Mm.
Because it was going to be like a 9-hour flight. And because it was going to be a 9-hour flight, the aircraft was full to the brim of fuel.
Yeah.
And so it crashed. There was a huge post-crash fire, which showed up on weather radar. You can see right here.
Yeah.
And people were getting mail addressed to locations in Honolulu raining down on them for miles away because of like how the air currents sent paper goods upwards.
Grim.
And it was bad. We're gonna play this video now. It is silent. It was caught on a vehicle dash cam. If you're sensitive to this, make the call for yourself. But it's like,
how long is the video? How long
like
should they skip forward?
under a minute.
Yeah, just hit, if you're on Spotify, hit that little skip button 4 times.
Yep. So yeah, there it goes.
Whoop. Yeah, that was missing some.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Do we have nope? So we'll just
Let's
go
do
back.
that one again. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's yeah.
Yeah, if you see if you have the ability to go onto YouTube or anything and look at this, you can see the engine is just gone on the far side facing away from the vehicle. It clips some power lines with the landing gear, and then it drops the wing into what I assume is I think is the fuel tank farm was like
Yeah, I
right
think the big
here.
yeah.
And the video was taken from like right around here, and so they're just gone. And that the plane cartwheels, flips over on its back, shreds itself down the way, and you can see the resulting apocalypse of a fire.
It's such
The
a
video I was
long
seeing was actually
swath.
from a different angle, and you like almost parallel to the. It might be CCTV from the runway actually. There's
Yeah, there were guys in a tug who were filming it taking off. It appears that about 30 odd seconds after from what the NTSB was saying, about 30 odd seconds after the plane took off, some form of issue began to occur, which I assume is the engine falling off. Another thing to sort of note, this aircraft had been in heavy maintenance for about 2 months leading up to the crash, which I should also... This was what, 2 weeks ago? Was it?
Week? Yeah, about 2 weeks ago. As of
was it 2
recording.
weeks ago? Yeah. Maybe
Yeah.
was it the day that Roz was here? Yeah, could have been.
I'm trying to see my comments because I'm speaker notes. It was...
Just go back to our Discord conversation where you bombarded me with every single bit you found about
I'm trying
this.
to be smooth about it. Shut up. It's not working clearly, but anyways, it was in maintenance for quite some time while that was happening, and then on the day of, the flight was actually delayed by about 2 hours while they did work apparently to the number 1 engine. So
I'm just going to read a bit of the NTSB probable cause extract from AA 191, which was attributing the vulnerability of the design of the pylon attachment points to but the key one here is deficiencies in FAA surveillance and reporting systems which failed to detect and prevent the use of improper maintenance procedures.
Oh yeah, well do you know the cause of AA 191, Gareth?
Yeah, it was repair to an engine that was improperly concluded.
No, but do you know what the improper repair was?
Oh, this is what I'm trying to remember from watching that episode of Mayday, because that's where I get all of my It was not. Let me try.
They were
Was
oh,
it the? Oh shit! I'm trying to remember. It's not the fake parts one. That was later.
no, that was that. Okay, that one was the Convair 404
Yes, because it was a
over.
small aircraft that did the
No,
spare.
this one was a. They were using a forklift to change
Oh
the
yes, the
engine.
forklift one. Yes, they were lifting it up and down with the clipping forklift. That's
And
right.
they were taking
Yep.
the whole pylon off because it was fewer bolts. They had a shift
Yep.
change in the middle of it. The forklift's hydraulics sagged a little bit when they turned it off during shift change, and it like fractured a clevis pin, and it lasted 2 weeks.
Oh,
Yep.
Anyways, and it took most of the leading edge of the wing off of it too, so the plane just lost all its hydraulics and died. That was AA-191. I don't know what the probable cause of this one is. I hope it's not that. Also, I did go through Discord. This was 11/4/2025. So
10 days ago from
yep,
recording.
10 days ago from recording.
Gareth, I can't begin to tell you how much I've seen about this because the train that I run has a little bit of a wait time baked in every single night. So we would finish our work. We would get to this period where we had to wait. I'd have my job briefing with my conductor. We're not moving anymore. Do you agree it's safe to use our phone? And we both pull our phones out of our bag and turn them on. And I just get like 15 Discord notifications of different angles and articles about this. And that was for like 3 days in a row.
It's this one's real bad, folks. This is not
This
good.
one's gnarly.
And you know the reason I read that bit from the from Flight 191 is because we've just had a load of news articles about the impact of, and it's not just the shutdown because there's been an overall decay in Doge and others,
Yeah.
muck and austerity before that, frankly, mucking around with the key ways in which your utterly bloated and overexpanded aviation industry is looked after, and is kept intact. And a system that is overall extremely safe is extremely safe because of an extremely complex system of state oversight.
And it's that oversight that we see a lot of people wanting to have removed entirely.
Oh yeah, that costs money.
Less regulation is seen as a good thing to a lot of people, but when we get less regulation, we get instances like this.
Exactly. And we're not saying that is why this happened, but it's one of those situations where the likelihood of an event that looks like this happening is explicitly increased by meddling with the things that we've just spent a century building.
Self-certification is going to kill so many people.
The ideal airline, according to those people, is ValueJet.
And that went so well.
I mean, they only suffered for like 5 minutes. You'd have to charge them extra any other ways. That's free.
Oh my god. I am very, very curious to see what the report's going to look like when this finally comes out.
What happens with this one?
What deficiency happened in that maintenance process, and was there somebody that could have prevented this? That maybe pencil whipped an inspection, because that's where we get a lot of other issues. Like look at the issues with Boeing and the 737-8 Maxes.
Although if we
that was people basically pencil whipping inspections and designs, not even just repairs, just how the plane was fucking engineered.
Although if we want to talk about bad engineering, the MD-11 is the poster child for that. It was the DC-10 was not.
I love my loud boy. What are you talking about?
The DC-10 was not a stellar design, but turning it into the MD-11 involved a lot of work to it, making it bigger and like burlier, and the wing box wasn't. Something about the wing geometry isn't quite right, which meant, and I promise you, I learned about this nickname in an old edition of Airways magazine. It earned the nickname the Scud because it flew unsteadily and nobody knew where it would eventually come down.
So you know what? I'm so glad that McDonnell Douglas did not bring that corporate and engineering oversight culture into Boeing at the merger of those two organizations.
No, that would have been awful, and it definitely would have meant that I personally would not be able to wear one of my favorite shirts that says "You're going to die."
Exactly. Yeah, and my finger is hovering over the gamer horns button here, and I'm resisting.
Fun stuff. If you wear that shirt on a Boeing plane, you will only get two reactions. Either the crew will laugh or they will look at you horrified. And that was exemplified when the flight attendant saw mine, laughed, and then as my wife and I were getting out the plane and all the attendants and the crew were kind of together at the front telling everybody goodbye, our flight attendant was like, hey, look at his shirt, the captain, the first officer, and the second of the third flight attendants laughed, and the third one just looked at me with like this look of disgust and anger.
And we have to forget the other new catchphrase coined by Roz recently: McDonnell Douglas, we'll kill you.
Oh, yeah. We'll kill you.
Yeah. They'll do it. They'll do it, folks. Oh my goodness, that was the long news.
That's the news
horrifying.
long versus the news brief.
All right.
Then we now get into
Tidying up.
a housekeeping slide really quickly before we get into this. So as we have, this is going to air like a month after the Edmund Fitzgerald episode, but we brought it up during that. We've heard your complaints. The podcast might be too long. I personally would tell you all to suck it, but I understand that I have to be nice to my listeners.
The more empathetic host understands your plight.
So here are our options for what we should do for this. Do you guys want an intermission? Like basically, I mean, literally, I'll put up like a GIF of that "let's all go to the lobby" thing from the movies. And at that point, if you want to keep watching, it'll be up for like 30 seconds and then you can keep going. If you don't want to, that's a point where you can stop and like tomorrow or the next day keep going, and you won't be like cutting off in the middle of a sentence. Or do you want us to do multiple parts in a single episode? Like we're planning on eventually doing a multi-part episode for some of these bigger accidents. Like Zach and I once talked for over an hour and a half on the sheer what the fuckness of the sinking of the Sewol in South Korea. That's like a 2 or 3 part episode if we can find someone who understands South Korea, because neither one of us understand it enough. But that's like a normal episode that we do. We can break it up if you guys want, but I personally like the intermission slide bit as an idea. So that's
quite a nice idea. Yeah,
that's for you guys to decide. Second question: is the news too long? As we said before, some people think the news is too long. Some people think that the news dates this to a certain period of time, which I've never objected to when I listen to old episodes of WTYP and things like that.
It's kind of fun to go back. Yeah,
I do kind of like that.
It's interesting actually with Rail Natter. I've been thinking about this with Rail Natter. Sly plug for my podcast video with slides. It's a good functioning format. Everyone, the podcast with slides. Anyway, I ended up sitting on news for a couple of weeks, and then if it's like, that's not relevant now, I chop it. And if I think, this contributes to the lore of the podcast and the overall theme, I'll include it. So that's been my approach, which makes it less topical, but also, news is a tricky one because you kind of want to cover stuff. But I ended up having so many whoops all news episodes that I was like, it's getting too much. Okay.
Yeah, and and that's completely
whoops all news does sound fun.
If you guys have, if you the listeners have an opinion on this, and your 3 options are no news, 1 to 2 slides of news, or keep it as it is, which is 4 to 6 and takes an hour.
I quite like the 10-minute timeline. I enjoyed the 10-minute ticker. What you need to do is have an actual ticker in the corner that counts down. That would be fun.
I had my phone
would be
timer.
fun.
I had my phone timer looking at me from on the table.
You need to get work out. The thing is, it's on Google. It's peek behind the curtain. It's on Google, not PowerPoint. It's going to say PowerPoint. You could probably do like a countdown timer in the corner. Maybe Google might have a functionality to do that, and you could literally taap onto the slide and that timer starts. That might be a fun way to do it. You've now made me think I need to do it just on my slides.
An embedded YouTube video with a stopwatch on it.
Yeah.
I do like that idea.
But I like
that a lot.
In any event, whichever one
copyright Rail Natter 2020.
Hang on, no, it's our idea first. We published this first.
It's your IP. I said it on your podcast, which makes it your IP.
Fight.
So, but in any event, Your three options are no news, 1 to 2 slides of news, or keep it as it is.
If you reply with the third option, we will know that you're a masochist.
I count myself
They'll
among
know.
those people. I like talking about the news for an hour and a half. But beyond that, is there a specific topic you guys would like us to cover? Obviously, we are not omniscient. There are only so many obscure British rail accidents that I can happen across on Wikipedia, like the time that a Deltic ran over something in the middle of the tracks and ended up running away down a branch line as a result. But
No, not
that is
touching that right
in
now. No.
our
Keep going.
slide. That is in our
Keep going.
Excel sheet.
I'm not touching it. I'm resisting the urge. I'm not touching it.
Is there a specific topic you would like us to cover? Maybe something that we haven't heard of. The only thing I ask is that please give us something with an accessible report or a large body of work talking about it. Like
I'll even take a medium body of work. I need more than a single Wikipedia page.
I want desperately to cover the Russell Hill subway accident in Toronto, but for some fucking reason, there just is not a report about it available online. Like I don't know how to find it. I've looked everywhere. I'm going to have to email Canada. Which
as we get closer to we're getting closer to like the 1 hour mark on recording, or as we go. And I'm thinking, but I'm going to sabotage myself here, because I had this with like the Tesco tunnel collapse in the UK. So there's a collapse of a tunnel onto a railway that had a Tesco's above it, and it was a major event, and it was covered up essentially for Tony Blair PFI reasons. And it exposed this huge story, and an avid listener of RailNatter proceeded to go to the Information Commissioner's office and force the Health and Safety Executive to publish a version of the report that they'd been sat on. It was fantastic. A beautiful moment. And then we then followed it up in an episode, and it made for grim reading. But yeah, it's you can't always have that level of tenacious listenership to go dig it out. But if you are tenacious,
I will add, please don't suggest the Dallas area rapid transit train fire in July of 2025. I am refreshing the NTSB page every like 30 seconds looking for that. Gareth, for context, I used to work for DART. I know how the sausage is made, and I cannot wait to do that episode.
Also, please don't suggest East Palestine, because it will just give me more ammo for Zach to be like, let me cover this. Because it's not technically a transit disaster. But
what's this little bit about the audio, Joe?
Oh, yeah. So if you listen to the Edmund Fitzgerald episode, my audio specifically was dog shit. I have no idea why that happened. I think the RAM in my desktop computer just ate shit and died. Or something equally mysterious and Google Chrome related, surely. So I'm actually on my gaming laptop right now because I ordered new RAM for the computer that is like in a state of total disassembly, and they said it would be here on this Wednesday, and it's Friday now, and it's not here. So
we know about the audio.
We know,
especially the quality. It is getting better, especially with us trying to use more professional platforms, so to speak.
Like, what's really maddening is it didn't start doing this for like 6 episodes. Like, the audio might not have sounded great always because that was an OBS problem. A couple of episodes after, like episodes, like I think like 8 or 9, it started doing this. And I don't know why. One of my more technically minded coworkers thinks that it was an issue with like Google Chrome updated, and it just went over the top of the cache that my RAM was allocating. And I don't know why. I apologize profusely. Because it didn't do that on any other episode. I don't have a good idea of why, but anyways,
how can they contact us?
SYDDOYWTW@gmail.com.
Impenetrable. I love it.
Okay, you want to talk?
I'm very self-cautious about that one.
I was gonna make it something like "you didn't die" @gmail.com, and then he messages me halfway through a sentence in episode 1 with
I got the email set up.
Like halfway
like
through,
6 beers into it, I decided this was a good email address for us.
I like did the thing of like I get a ping because I don't think I had Discord notifications turned off too, so it probably got some people, and then I'm just like the Paris Metro, and as I'm trying to do two things at once. But anyways,
All right.
now we're
Next
done.
slide, we get to talk about
how long
my
have we
favorite-
been going for?
Well, you got to.
44 minutes. Good. We're quick
also
today.
going to chop off like the first 5 of that.
Yeah, we're quick today. Anyway, here's our theme.
It's my favorite. We get to do it again. Don't let foamers
run a railroad.
I have power. I have power under my fingers right now.
Whew. That was the best place you could have brought that in. I applaud you.
Yep.
There's a reason I held off earlier.
Don't let foamers run a railroad.
We've covered this at least twice already.
This is number 3. This is number 3 after Speed Rail, Gettysburg, and now this. So we're talking about.
What do we got?
We're going to the next slide. Right. So actually, we're going to do the intermission now. If anybody wants to take a pee break, because the stream died and we all had other things to do. So pretend it's the same day we're doing this. Pretend in the theater of your mind, and also this image. Pretend that.
We're back, baby. We're back. In fact, we were never
better this time.
Yeah, exactly.
We're doing marvelously better. So we're going to go on to the next slide, which is what we're actually talking about today, which is a children's book. We're talking about the Jane Singhall children's book, Red Light Stop. And tangentially related is a picture of this steam locomotive, which I believe is called Tangmere, if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Must be Italian.
Yeah, I think it's Italian. Yeah, you're right. That's right. Yeah.
So, of course, we're actually talking about the Wootton Bassett signal past a danger incident, which is one of those great calamities that really should have led to more change and didn't.
No,
I think it would have.
It didn't land quite as it ought to have, to be honest. Yeah, some change, not nearly enough.
So, with that, we're going to go on to the next slide, and of course, we have to ask ourselves, what is a steam engine?
For God's sake,
it's kicking rad. That's what it is.
So,
even if it is on the Gettysburg Railroad and about to blow you up.
Yeah.
As a very quick primer. It's a very quick primer for anybody who's fallen into this podcast by accident, like several of my coworkers. Hi guys, who are now listening to this because I talked about this. A steam engine is an old form of transportation that used to pull trains. It uses boiling water to produce steam that propels pistons that makes wheels turn. It is widely considered by people who are weird like me that it's a good form of transportation and people should still be doing it. There's a word for these kinds of people, right, Gareth?
Oh, well, yeah. Foamers, greisers, call them what you will, you know.
I believe you told me about chuffernutters.
Oh, chuffernutters. Yeah, that's right.
Not real.
Oh,
that's
God, yeah.
not real.
Yeah, chuffernutters. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's not a. It's definitely a chuffernutters. Noun brackets derogatory. Yeah.
I was about to say that sounds vaguely slur-ish.
Yeah, it's a slur for neurodivergent greisers. That is. No, it's yeah. You know, people look. I'm a railways guy rather than a trains guy. I like the whole thing, the whole caboodle. But if I'm going to be forced, if you force me at knife point against a wall and say, yeah, but what is your favorite trains? What are they? Which ones are the ones that tickle your fancy? Then my response is going to be, well, it's going to be everything in BR Blue in the 70s, which is electric and diesel. And I'm going to be honest with you, mostly early electrics are the things that get me extremely excited because they're so niche and difficult to run without there being a main line to run them on. So I'm a big fan of those. But steam trains exist, and this is going to be an episode about steam trains, or rather, when people forget to push the stop button on steam trains. But we'll get there.
Yeah, when we let foamers run a railway.
which you should definitely do, right? That's the lesson we're learning here, isn't it?
Always
That's
let
the
them
best
do
way. Nobody takes better care of museum pieces than foamers.
Absolutely. So we are going to go on to the next slide now. Now that we've learned what a steam engine is, what is this specific steam engine? 34067 Tangmere. I've been informed that it is pronounced.
It is time here, yeah.
Producer note says it's pronounced Tangmere. Okay, so we've established it is not Italian. The Tangmere is a bullied light Pacific type of locomotive built in September 47 for the Southern Railway. They have a weird numbering scheme, so this one got numbers and a letter, 21C167.
And
I'm not going to ask what it means.
And we should maybe specify again for anyone who doesn't know, which is a very small number of people. The Southern Railway in England was what happened when a bunch of other smaller railways were forcibly amalgamated into a big system in the 1920s, because in England it was a bunch of small railroads, and then the government went in and said, you're all broke. Get inside the get together sweatshirt, and then they became the Big Four. Which
we call grouping, the Big Four, 1923 grouping. And yeah, funnily enough, the thing that everyone celebrates, the big private railway that built Britain's absolutely terrible railway network, because it is fucking useless and hopeless. They also couldn't sustain their businesses as soon as workers started getting rights. So yeah, pretty soon after workers got rights, the railway companies didn't have viable businesses, so they had to start merging.
Those pesky workers wanting things like decent working hours and pay. I mean, really make some money if it weren't for them. Do you know this?
Yeah, just a day off, I think, was there.
How dare they want safety?
I know.
But, anyways, there were 4 railroads: the Great Western, the London and Northeastern, the London, Midland and Scottish, and the Southern. The Southern, as its name suggests, served the south part of England, primarily the south.
Yeah.
The what?
The SAF.
Yeah, the south. The southeast part of England, going off towards where did the Southern go?
Oh, I mean, confusingly, you're right, but also it went down to the southwest and smooshed all up in the Great Western Railway as well, because again, stupid railway network.
None of that matters as much as how mad I am that I have to remember that the West Coast Main Line was part of the Midland region of British Rail.
What?
Because the Great Western went someplace completely different. I'm still not mentally okay with that.
Yeah, that is how that works. Yeah, the Great Western Railway goes down to the southwest, the West Country, and the West Coast Main Line spends absolutely and almost none of its time anywhere near the west coast of the UK or of the island of Britain. So yeah, you have to remember, Britain is not real. It's stupid. It's fake. It's a joke of a location.
I was about to say, has there just been something in the water for centuries?
It's the black rot in the walls. Yeah.
Limestone. I thought it was all the hard water.
If you spend too much time sat sniffing that stuff, you turn into a millionaire transphobe. I cannot recommend. I just do not do that. Yeah.
Actually, hard water would also line up with why Texas is so batshit insane. Because I mean, it's bad out here. If I drain my hot water heater, once I get down to the bottom of it, like there's just chunks pouring out of the hose.
Oh, nice.
Look at the Gettysburg. Same. You tell me that the Cornells were left wing. Look me in the eye and tell me that.
Oof. Yep. Hard water region.
But I want to just
we're onto something.
So this thing. Well, they built quite a few of these. You know, there's
yes, they did. Getting back on topic.
110 of these. Yes. That's an impressive number.
These were designed by Oliver Bulleid, who was God's most specialist mechanical engineer. He never saw an idea he didn't like, and he implemented them with incredible mechanical precision, often in complete defiance of reality and economics, and also the human abilities and comfort.
Yep.
Look up the SR Leader if you would like to see that, or that one locomotive he designed for the Irish that ran on peat.
Yes. Also, the first diesel locomotive that we had running on the main line. That was a bullet.
Yeah. The Tangmir's class, which the bullied Pacifics were two different classes. It was the Battle of Britain class and then the Merchant Navy classes.
Yeah.
And they were, again, God's most specialist engines. They could set themselves on fire because Bullied designed
Saves weight.
What was that?
Saves weight.
Yep, because Bullied designed this absolutely marvelous valve train system for the locomotives that involved oil baths for the and chains and things like that, and oil would be thrown up under the air smooth casing, which we'll talk about in just 1 second, and get into the casing, get into like the soft flammable lining of the casing, soak into it, and then because the casing is next to a boiler, it would heat up and spontaneously combust.
Yes.
So that insulation is more than likely asbestos, right?
I don't know.
I mean, it's a very, very strong chance it is. Yeah. So
If
you,
he managed to set fire,
quite. Yeah. How do you set fire to asbestos?
presumably asbestos will be fine. It's just everything else around it. The oil
with great British ingenuity knows no bounds. You
The
have
entire
Brunel in
locomotive
front
burns
of
down, and there's
French by
nothing
then.
left but a pile of asbestos.
Yeah, we could do things back then, like for example, set fire to asbestos.
Yeah, you have Brunel in front of the chains, and then you have Bullied in front of a burning lump of asbestos.
We can do these things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Oh, no, that's the other side of the pond, isn't it? Yeah. I like the way that. Okay, so you talked about this. I mean, yeah, we've talked about the kind of the casing. Why? Tell us why. Why was it like this? What's going on?
There are several theories, but I'll let y'all know what they are and how extremely wrong I am. Obviously, first, something big and smooth and round like that is clearly for her pleasure, right?
Yeah.
There's no flared base though, so that's the tender is not
good for
flared,
half.
so it's not good for insertion.
Okay, so nope, not
That's
that.
cool.
Can't do that. How about improved aerodynamics? That's a reason to make things smooth, right? Well,
No.
then the front of it is flat as hell, so that
it's
kind of
back.
undoes everything.
It's like it's awful for aerodynamics. That is just one big scoop. It's like a 66 that they're the least aerodynamic train on the network because they have this like just gigantic scoop thing. So yeah, no, it's not. It's definitely not aerodynamics.
So the real reason is incredibly boring and not cool at all, except maybe in the I never thought about that sense. And it is shaped like that so that it could go through a car wash and just pull a rake of cars through with it, and they would all get cleaned up.
Which is quite nice when you think about it. You go, oh yeah, that is quite clever.
Yeah.
It's kind of convenient.
Yeah.
It's the same reason why the Q1 is shaped like the way it is.
Yeah.
Because
Don't
this-
the Q. Oh, don't. Now I'm jumping up on the table and rubbing my thighs. The Q1 is my favorite steam locomotive because it is so ugly and yet kind of beautiful for its simplicity.
So
I
ugly
love
and
it.
yet so functional.
And the part of the reason why the fact that it could go through the car wash is because this thing was used a lot for it was a mixed traffic design, but it was used a lot for passenger traffic. So the useful thing about that is you want to wash the train, you just shove it through with the coaches. It's already coupled up to happy days.
Yeah, and the design was designed in World War II when manpower was at a
Yeah, this is an austerity. Yeah, this is an austerity locomotive. The Q1 we just referred to, which is fugly as hell, is again, it's an austerity. It's designed to be simple, easy to maintain, minimum amount of kind of labor to look after it and keep it running. Relatively, steam locomotives are inherently very labor intensive, but these reduce that. And simple to maintain, look after, operate, blah blah blah. Austerity design, and also cheap to build. Question mark when it comes to Bullied, but that's
also
that's one for the
also
future.
question mark next to cheap to run, considering that Bullied's valve gear required incredible amounts of maintenance just to maintain function.
Look, he tried, okay, and are we going to really beat down on a guy for trying?
Yes,
Not
his
all
name is
innovation is
literally
good.
Bullied. This man was.
He was born asking for it.
Do they call swirlies something else in the United Kingdom? Because that's what he should have been getting. Bullying works. If he had been bullied in school, maybe he'd be better than Gresley.
Oh,
And make-
I don't know. But the people who get bullied at school turn into Brunels, who was absolutely the much this day, and I don't say that kindly.
Ouch.
Oh,
That's right. Pouring out one
So-
for my boy, except what I'm pouring out is urine and handing it to him.
All right, so this funky shape earned these Pacifics a very fun nickname, which
Yep.
we can learn about on the next slide. Let's take a look. They are called spam cans.
Yes.
spam.
And I mean, if I
wonderful
could have
spam.
found a 3/4 view of a can of spam, I
You
would have.
would've.
You know what? I was at the grocery store earlier today. I should have just pulled one off the shelf and
Oh, yeah,
took a
done your own
3/4 view and
three-quarter.
put it
Yep.
back. I'm sorry, listeners. This is not a high quality show.
Well, you know what? The listeners, send in your 3/4 images of spam. held up to
Yeah,
the- there
yes.
and head of a
Send
local
them.
terrain.
Send them
Send them.
specifically with the subject line of Zach look at
Yeah.
SYW some SY.
Write it out. That's what I
Hold
have
on.
to do. Check
I
the
am.
episode description for the email address.
Shut the fuck up. I forgot to put it. I forgot to put it in the last one. Hold
Hold
on.
behind the
It is
curtain, listener. We listen to this.
SYDDOWTW@gmail.com. Care of Zach Lybrand.
Oh, you got
Do
through
not
it.
associate me with this.
You got through it. Amazing. Okay,
Excuse
yeah.
me? What was that?
Oh, just playing a bit of Handel's Messiah to just celebrate celebrate the email address being successfully transmitted to the viewers and listeners at home. Yeah, it's a spam can. That was what it was called.
All right,
Yes.
next slide.
And now we
I
have
just
to
I just
talk
really
about
like that fact.
it.
It's lovely, yeah.
We have to now talk about expired spam. So,
Oh.
British Rail's modernization plan was generally viewed in period as a bad move and disliked by many people who had no input on the actual operation of British Railways. So it went along anyways. Its main goal was to eliminate the steam locomotive and its many labor-intensive processes from the national network, which it did fairly efficiently. Tangmere and the other bullied Pacifics were no exception to this. The locomotive was withdrawn in 1963, November 1963, and ended up at Wootton Brothers Scrapyard in Glamorgan, Wales, in 1965. Wootton Brothers is a very legendary scrapyard in British rail preservation because the owner, Di Wootton, basically saw a much greater cultural benefit to saving these locomotives and scrapping things like freight cars and the locomotive tenders and things like that he also got, while keeping the locomotives to be sold at reasonable, like almost at cost rates to preservationist societies, which occurred with almost every engine he saved, including Tangmere, which was purchased in 1981 from his yard and ended up at the Somewhere and River upon Avon tourist railway, where it sat in mostly pictured position in this condition, the scrapyard condition, until the the late 90s to 2000, when it was restored by Ian Riley and Son Limited, which is a name that sounds familiar to me. Gareth, have they done other things in steam preservation?
Oh, I couldn't possibly. Yes, they have. Ian Riley and Sun Limited, Carnforth based.
Oh, okay, yeah, and
In fact, no, that's nonsense. Actually, you know what? I'm speaking actual total nonsense. Resume browsing to remind myself what Ian Riley and Son. Let me just refresh.
they
my
did
memory.
other things, but they
Yeah.
owned Tangmere from 2000 to 2008. Actually, no, it's a little bit weird like that. So they owned Tangmere from 2000 to 2008/2011, but the locomotive was restored by them from the period of time from. Oh, did you
I've
find
had my epiphany as to what I remember Riley. So Riley and Son, most famous for doing all of the heavy lifting on the overhaul of Flying Scotsman. That is what Riley
Okay.
and Son are famous
Oh.
for. They've been around since 1992, so about as old, a little younger than I am. And yeah, they've done some fairly major projects, but Flying Scotsman probably top of that list. Sorry, everyone. I'm misremembering all the stuff that I should be remembering.
Yeah. Well, no,
They've been around the block.
Carnforth will come up in just a second.
Yeah,
because,
well, I was getting ahead of myself. I was getting excited.
So Riley and Son restored the locomotive to running condition in 2004. They continued to own it until the period of time from 2008 to 2011. And I keep saying this because a man named David Smith came along and bought the locomotive from 2008, but for some reason it took almost 3 years to close the deal. I don't know if he had to line up financing or if there was some sort of escrow process, because the thing's worth more than a house. So I don't know exactly what happened, but Ian Riley stopped maintaining the locomotive in 08 and and the locomotive was then, its primary maintenance base was Carnforth Railway Restoration and Engineering Service Limited, which was owned by a man named David Smith.
Wait a
Which,
minute.
I guess that must be a coincidence. And its primary operator was West Coast Rail, which we'll talk about in a bit. But West Coast Rail leased the locomotive from David Smith. As a note, the owner and CEO of West Coast Rail is a man named David Smith. Hey, wait a minute. Are these all the same person? Spoiler alert, yes, he is.
I smell something fishy.
If you go to Companies House website, David Smith is the owner of CRRES, West Coast Rail, and a bunch of other companies. He also owns the Steamtown Museum in Carnforth.
He's also listed as a farmer, if I remember correctly. I don't have it up in front of me right now, but I remember.
He owns a farm. He owns a farm that has like a big manor house that you can rent out as like a hotel sort of deal. Which
a farmer in the same way that Jeremy Clarkson is.
Actually, from what I've seen, Clarkson actually makes an effort of it.
Fair point.
This is like Jeremy Clarkson 10 years ago when he paid someone else to manage his farm.
Okay.
But anyways, that's sort of where Tangmere is still there is still in this ownership situation now. Like, spoiler alert, Tangmere doesn't die. And so the engine is still in this shape, is still owned and operated in this same manner to this day. So now we have to go on to the next slide, which is sort of one of the bigger issues that we have to talk about with Tangmere, at least on is that steam locomotives are very difficult to see out of, just in general.
The best ones are like I don't know, mildly difficult. The very best ones are mildly difficult, and it only gets worse from there.
And Tangmere is not an easy one to see out of because of the long boiler with the smooth sides that mean you have like this even like smaller window shape than you ordinarily would. And as we can see down here, there was an accident in 1957. Was that 57 or 53? I can't read the fucking text on my own slide. But 57, December 4th, 1957.
I should know that because it's the Lewisham Rail disaster. It's a biggie, folks.
The Lewisham Rail disaster was an accident caused almost entirely by poor visibility out of the cab on a BR at that point it was a BR locomotive, but a Bullion Pacific locomotive, and many people died. Very bad sort of thing. And you can see down in this picture over here that the smoke on the locomotive, because the loading gauge in Britain is very small, and the Bullion designed these locomotives to take every last inch of it. It really, like, the smoke does weird things coming around the engine.
Yeah, we don't have a nice tall smokestack. That's just, we don't have space for that shit. We've just drilled some holes in the top of the smoke box, and that shit's just coming straight out of the top. Like, and wisping all over the place.
I do like the elephant ears that seem to be purely decorational.
Yeah.
My favorite part about these is still the fact that the smoke box is an oval, because it's so fucking weird, like everything else.
Why can't you just be normal?
No, not possible.
And something else to note, just in case it doesn't come up later, is that on the day of the Wootton Bassett SPAD that we are talking about, Tangmere did have a small steam leak that was occurring directly in front of the driver's window.
Oh my god!
So imagine this, but worse. Like,
because I think the lens flare by the
I was going to
poorly composed photo.
Well, I think they took this inside a shed,
Yes.
So this is coming in through the door. But imagine this level of visibility.
Basically, the visibility you've got, i.e., not much. You're just hoping. You're moving the train and you're going on route knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, you know,
which,
it's
we
really
might
good
talk
that
about
we
later.
have some safety devices to help with these sorts of low visibility situations.
Yeah, and
we
maybe this
learned
is the
about
moment to
from
talk-
Lewisham, among other accidents. Actually.
Yeah, but maybe this is the moment to go. People watching this might be like, "Well, how the fuck do you drive the train with that little visibility?" And this is where maybe this is not a bad moment to just very briefly talk about route knowledge. Is that reasonably uniquely, British railway drivers are trained and competent on the basis of route knowledge. So that is that when you're driving the train, you aren't just. It's not like you're going in a car somewhere you don't know, but you're following the road signs and signals and so on. You know where all the signals are. You know what the markers are for your braking points. You know where you need to start applying the brakes on a wet day and on a dry day, and in an autumn day when you've got wet leaves to stop the train at the station without overrunning or coming up short. You as a driver, this is why drivers are paid, well, many reasons. One of the reasons why drivers are paid the good money is because this is a huge amount of knowledge to have. That's why drivers are depot based, because they're, so they can reach the tracks that are nearby them, so that there's only so much route knowledge that you can accrue over time. And it's also why you occasionally have trains that do funny routes in late evening, if you're in the UK, or in GB rather, because that is a way to get drivers to make sure they retain route knowledge on those lesser used diversion routes, or if they're moving empty coaching stock in the evening. So yeah, that's one of the things. So if you're in a train like this, you might not be able to see anything, but the way that you're driving the train is by the things that you can see are allowing you to be prompted to exercise that route knowledge.
Hey, talking of route knowledge, Gareth, if you had route knowledge of the slide deck, you would go 4 ahead and know that that there's a whole slide on route knowledge.
I know, but I couldn't remember, and I was like, I wanted to get into that.
No, this is good.
More specific later.
This is good.
We'll touch on the specifics of why. We'll touch a little bit more on route knowledge shortly, but I just the useful primer at this moment, I think, to just be like, for people who are like, how the fuck do you drive a train when you can see nothing? That helps a little bit.
Of course, yes. How do you drive the train? Carefully.
Yeah. No, only Welsh trains that you can drive carefully. That's a cheese joke, everyone. And the pronunciation is, of course, but it works anyway.
I think there's also a Great Western engine you can drive carefully, but
oh dear, yeah. Where's my punchline drop? No, I'm not even going to press it. I'm not going to dignify with the press. Right? Okay, let's keep it.
Okay, next slide. We are going to talk about braking forces. So Tangmere is running a So we're going to talk about braking forces. Tangmere was running a train of Mark 1 and Mark 2 coaches on this instance, and we'll get into this more as we get further along, like what the exact setup of the coach was. Yeah. But the important thing to note here, you can also just read paragraph 12 if you're that interested. But the closer thing to note here is paragraph 13, which is that this locomotive, being as simple and easy to use as it is, has 3 fucking braking systems on it. Yeah. It's got air brakes, the vacuum brakes, and a steam brake. Now, to sort of backfill a lot of information very quickly, when the train was invented, the correct way to stop a train was by hopes and dreams, and then it was by sacrificing a bunch of people called brakemen to the environment, where they would run along the top of the train setting handbrakes as they went, at least in the United States, and then they would be killed in some horrible fashion at some point.
Oh, horrifically. Yep. Yeah.
And then, or you could do what the Brits did, which is you would stop the train, apply all the brakes, go down the hill, and then there may or may not be a spectacular accident shortly thereafter.
Yeah, because it's Britain and we are famously non-silent, the way we had to do this was through the medium of school children. And in this case, that was by murdering a load of them.
Excuse me?
So, yeah.
Is that Armagh?
That was Armagh, yeah, absolutely. Which is where the Armagh disaster, a very crucial disaster in railway history, certainly in the UK. Where it forced us to introduce lock, block, and brake, which is interlocking systems, brake systems on trains, because they weren't mandatory at that point, and the Armagh disaster was in the 1880s. late 18, it's like 1889 or something, wasn't it, Armand? Just horrendous, just like nuts, or certainly late 1870s, that kind of region. Chat, correct me. But anyway, yeah, lock, block, and brake. So and also, yeah, block signaling. So yeah, you had the need for interlocking, the need for block signaling, and the need for actually putting brakes on the train. Yes.
Before the advent of either the automatic air brake or the vacuum brakes, did the UK in general also kind of go through that phase where the penny pinchers of the railways did the math and found out, like, what happened in the US was the penny pinchers did the math and found out that it was cheaper to continue paying for the funeral of dead brakemen who died on the job than it was to equip their trains with automatic brakes, and didn't do so until it was required by law.
We just didn't have brakes on the trains at all.
Yeah, no, that's actually
cut out the whole middleman. That's innovation.
Yeah,
that's actually still a thing. They're called unfitted trains. I keep going back to Thomas the Tank Engine, but it is a very good reference point for the uninitiated of what British railroading was in like the early 1900s. The episode where James runs away down the hill with his brake blocks on fire was almost undoubtedly because he had an unfitted train behind him and had very minimal braking power on the locomotive.
Yeah,
and that's still a thing. Technically, there are still speed restrictions for partially fitted and completely unfitted trains.
Yeah, we try to avoid them, of course, but we have to have the ability to run them if needs be. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this is fine. Nothing could go wrong.
We have actually, like, the nerds will come up and shout at me. I can't exactly remember what the exact limitations are on unfitted trains on the GB railway network.
I think it's 35 miles an hour.
Yeah, I think basically that you can have them, but they are limited to very slow operation, and it's very much a by exception rather than by.
Don't say 35 is slow, please. That's the fastest I get to go when I run trains.
Yeah, and I like, look, 35 miles an hour. I do not want to run into a wall at 35 miles an hour. I'm still turning into soup. So that's fast enough to make bad things happen.
But
anyway, we're getting distracted. We need to talk about Mark 1 and Mark 2 coaches and their braking capacities.
Well, we need to talk about specifically what the vacuum, air, and steam brakes did to each other on the locomotive. So the steam braking system on Tangmere sort of did exactly what it was described. This only controls the brakes on the locomotive. And then
if you're familiar with American trains, that's the equivalent of the independent brake.
And then the air and vacuum brakes worked together to stop the train, but not in the way you're thinking. Because the thing is that when America decided to actually that they had to have brakes, they went with the Westinghouse automatic air brake, which basically applies air pressure to a set of brake shoes and presses them against the train's wheels. However, in England, they went with a different system called vacuum brakes, which is that to apply the brakes, you have to release air from a vacuum. When the train is moving, there's a vacuum.
You create a vacuum, and the vacuum is what releases the brakes. And so the system essentially is when there's a leak or when brake pressure is applied, the vacuum is reduced and the brakes are applied again. So in a way, you're applying the brake and switching the system off to release the vacuum. We did have both for a while, and then for a little while, British Rail were like, "Oh, we're gonna have vacuum," and then we finally, by the time we got to the 70s, we'd fully changed our mind back to air brakes again.
But this meant that there's a lot of equipment, both locomotives, because also vacuum and air brakes were also used sort of interchangeably in the pre-grouping era. Like, I think the London and Brighton and South Coast had air brakes when almost no train at the time had air brakes outside of their system. Yeah, am I right?
Yeah, there was some diversity. Let's put it that way. There's some diversity in choice of who'd been given backhanders, or working out. Let's say making friends with the good people at Westinghouse versus those who are applying vacuum brakes. Yeah,
and so there was a lot of So you have a lot of things where, like, some cars are fitted, some locomotives are fitted, some aren't, and some have pass-through equipment so that you can, if the very least, connect like an air braked coach to a vacuum braked coach and run them both, even though you're not running them.
Yeah, there's like a valve dingle donger that you can use that essentially allows you to kind of have the systems kind of run, because you can bypass them. Of course, you can have a train that just, a coach that essentially won't have brakes running,
Yeah.
So you can bypass it, or you can have the kind of the fancy valvey dingle donger that allows you to kind of match the two together.
It's called the proportional relay valve, and it
That's the
works as a
one.
dingle donger.
The dingle.
I like dingle donger better.
But it only works. The dingle donger only works one way.
Yeah,
Doesn't work both.
Yeah, the air brake will also work the vacuum brake and the steam brake, but if you do the steam brake, it won't do anything, and if you do the vacuum brake, it'll only work the vacuums and the steam. So you have different things here. And then and again, we'll get to this in a bit, but specifically with the train that Tangmere was pulling on this date. We haven't gotten to the specific date yet because there's a lot of information to front load before we get to the date. But Tangmere was pulling a train of Mark I and Mark II coaches, which are all retired British Rail passenger stock dating from the 60s and 70s.
Well, Mark 1's even further back, 50s, 50s era. Mark
50s as well.
Oh, yeah, so Mark 1's right through the 50s, right through the 70s, and then the Mark 2's are 60s, 70s, yeah.
And so all of the ones on this train were vacuum braked, and then there was also a support coach for Tangmere, which was probably like a Mark 1 or Mark 2 general use van, which is basically the equivalent of like a baggage car, that had air brakes. And again, we'll get into this in a later slide, but the thing to just sort of remember right now is that the air braked coach was not functioning as a braking vehicle at the time because the air brakes were stronger than the vacuum brakes. Air brakes are much better than vacuum brakes in terms of being able to deliver braking force to the train.
Yeah.
So there's this whole chart that Zach and I found, and we were looking at it for like 20 minutes trying to figure out what the fuck it meant. And it's like, but basically, a train with this many coaches with air brakes would stop in almost half the distance of the equivalent train with vacuum brakes. And because of that, the owners of the support coach, which was the owners of the locomotive, were like, please don't use the air brakes because otherwise you're going to put flat spots in the wheels.
Yeah, you're just going to lock the wheels and create flat spots. Yeah, exactly.
So, Zach,
imagine just having an anchor right there, right behind the locomotive every time you set the brakes.
Yeah, what's the Nazi thing they used to wreck railways? The wolf or whatever it was. They used
the rail. The hook.
Yeah,
Zach, do you have that chart?
I'm looking at it right now. The statistic I found was that emergency braking distance on level track at 65 kilometers an hour is 632 meters for air brakes and 1,097 meters for vacuum brakes. So that's where the almost double comes from.
Yeah, it's
not
a
good.
Big difference.
It's not good.
And so,
and the vacuum brakes fade, which means they lose their effectivity as they get hotter.
Yeah, and also vacuum brake. This is not something that's specifically relevant, but vacuum brakes have a much slower effective range down the train. So, like in America, you can have like 2 or 3 mile trains, and the air brakes will effectively apply instantly within like 3 seconds, no matter where it is on the train. But a vacuum brake train will peter out after a few hundred meters. Or like
600 meters.
600 meters. That's not long for an American freight train.
No.
So let's see. Convert 600
like
meters to
or 1,900 feet.
Yeah, just shy of 2,000 feet. That's not great.
Short train.
That's short line railroad stuff right there. Like that's what I work on. That's not the 15,000 foot intermodal trains that the class 1s like to run.
Oh, I've seen them do. Gareth, if somebody tried to run a 21,000 foot intermodal train, how many people would have to be killed for that to happen?
Ideally none, actually.
How many laws would have to be rewritten to accommodate that?
Oh, on our network, on the British Railway network. I mean, what is it? 21,000 feet. I'm going to go do the conversion the other direction now. feet in meters. Let's have a look.
Because I've seen
6,000,
21,000.
pretty much exactly 6.4 kilometers of railway. We can run 750-meter trains if we want to sometimes. The longest train run in Britain to date. Longest train run in Britain. Length. It's a quarry train, I know.
Because they had
freight
Evening
train.
Star pull it, didn't they?
Yeah, yes, I think so.
It was like 104 cars or something, which is
the regulars are 775, but the longest to date. No, that's the wrong. I can't find the damn thing. That's annoying. I had this stat in the UK. I had this stat and it's gone. That's frustrating. This is great podcasting for you. I'd shout editor's note, but we have no intention of doing any editing to this, so it's all staying in. Anyway, right, okay, give up on that. Look, there it is. I knew it was there somewhere. 1991, 2 Class 59, so the kind of the little baby of the 66. Yeah, exactly. The 2 sausage machined SD40s pulled a 12,000 ton 1.65, so just slightly over a mile long train between 2 quarries. Or from a quarry to a processing plant. And that's the longest we've done. And most of the time, it's just 775 meters is the most we do of any intermodal.
That's what we call in America cute.
Yeah, exactly. We're a tiny little cute, really.
Next time
but we carry more traffic than you do in like our entire, like, still, you know.
Next time you come out here, you got to come out to where one of us lives. We'll show you around some of this shit that we do.
That sounds more like a threat than a.
Some of the stuff they do is insane, especially like marshalling yards, but and hump yards. But
yeah,
I can believe it.
Anyways, we're gonna go on to the next slide now. Who was driving?
Okay.
Let's ask that question. Who was driving? This guy, this man who's been stricken with the Lamy disease and has lowercase a's.
No cure, sadly.
No, you can
it's
pay
really
money
bad when you can find pictures of a very specific driver.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, a person has not had a great time when their photo is in a stock photo library like Alan. You're like, okay, I'm learning things about this person. Anyway, we're talking of learning things about this person. Who is this person? Tell us about this person.
Well, that's going to be old Mel Cox.
Mel Cox. What a guy.
Geezer name right there.
Oh yeah.
All right.
He was a seemingly well experienced railway professional overall. Started volunteering for the Swanage Railway in 1964, and then he hired on with British Rail in 1967 as an engine cleaner, and then moved up to steam locomotive fireman. It was unclear exactly when he went up to steam locomotive fireman, but considering he hired on with the British Rail in 1967, the fact that he could move up to that still is impressive.
Bear in mind, steam disappeared in 68, so he has like months to get from engine cleaner to fireman.
I can't believe they were still moving people up to that then.
Well, this might be the situation of, can you hold a shovel? Congratulations.
Because you're the last guy to move this train to its doom. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because all the guys with seniority were like, took 1 foot inside the cab of like a Deltic or a 37 and were like, holy shit, this is great. Well, actually, no, they mouthed that because the Deltic was so loud that their ears were bleeding.
Correct. Yeah, that's right.
It was, it was.
Well, you know what I need as a drop is the sound from inside the cab of a Deltic at full tilt with both of its like Delta engines at full, whatever, like 32 pistons all firing off in chaos mode. Yeah, that's what we
don't want to deafen our listeners.
No, that's correct.
And I've already got hearing loss.
I'm trying hard with my drop list. Yeah, you know, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, so he ended up seeing out the end of steam, went on to diesels,
and then worked until 2007 when he finally retired. And then what did he do? Like any good retiree, he went to a heritage railway and was an operations manager for the Swanage again.
Back to Swanage. Yeah.
Where is the Swanage in England?
Swanage Railway is, I want to say, in sort of the southwest. It's like Dorset, yeah. So Swanage, Swanage Railways, Dorset. So it's kind of like the Southwest, but not the peninsular bit of the Southwest, but the sort of the kind of the forgotten hinterland that's like kind of, it's near Bournemouth basically. So if you can imagine the bottom of like the flat bottom bit that's on the English Channel that runs from Dover to Penzance, so the bottom bit, that if you had Britain as an ornament, you'd sit it on that part. Then the Swanage Railway is kind of basically halfway along, like it's a little bit beyond the Isle of Wight in the direction of Penzance. If that doesn't mean anything to anyone, you can just Google where it is, and that'll give you all the information you need.
That's what I'm planning on doing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Swanage. It's kind of it's nice. It's pleasant. It's a lovely railway. You get the steam train to Corfe Castle, where you can change onto the main line. It's all. I mean, main line's a loose description of that bit of railway, but anyway, it's all very nice.
Spoiler alert: I'm not going to visit it until a certain person finally retires for good,
or dies, which might happen.
I mean, we're getting up there in the years.
We'll
talk about that some more here in a bit, though.
We'll get there. Yeah.
So. Mel then hired on with the West Coast Railway Company in 2010 on what's called a 0-hour contract, initially as a diesel driver, then went to steam. And 0-hour contracts are, and long and short of it is, you're an employee, you get paid when you work, but your contract has no expectation of a minimum number of hours or a certain wage earned. There's no guarantee to it. It's basically a way to...
it's useful for a variety of reasons. I was a student. I was on 0 hours contract for the hospitality company. I did minimum wage civil service for the royal family. For example, served the Queen. So it just shows Queen being served by minimum wage. Another analogy, another allegory for Britain and the condition that it's in. But anyway, so things like that. It's useful for that, and in this case, kind of makes sense because it's like, if you're going to work for West Coast Railway Company, the kind of work that it's not timetable train, not regular timetable trains like the main line. So having some level of being able to be responsive as a retiree, 0-hour contract kind of works, right?
It also seems like maybe it would be a good legal thing as well, in that everybody who's working is an actual employee of West Coast Railways. Should something happen, they would then be covered under company insurance, and it's not just, oh, here's this volunteer that we got off the street and nothing about because we have no record because they're a volunteer.
Correct.
Yeah,
yes.
it like they have training documentation and stuff like that. Like the museum I volunteer at wants me to be a trolley driver because we need more trolley drivers, and I'm like, but there's actually like a training regiment that you have to do before then, so that if somebody runs in front of it, we don't get in trouble. But much the same thing here.
So yeah, he's on the 0-hour contract, and then became a part-time driver for I can't remember how to pronounce this. Colas
Rail, yeah.
Colas Rail. Okay. In 2013, he was
the freight operator. They haul like inspection trains around and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it seemed like an easy way to keep him a little busy and keep his certifications up, so that his route knowledge and operational rules were still fresh.
We have if you're wondering why retirees come back to work, the railways are always always making huge numbers of people redundant, and therefore we're always short on staff. And again, who are the staff we employ? Well, often we end up employing, for things like skilled work, like drivers, it's the people who we've probably made redundant or have retired. We bring them back with an extra 0 on their salary, desperately trying to fill in the gaps in our
that's the way you do it.
Drivers we have. Classic.
That's how you do it. Work the system in your favor.
Yeah.
So he had his last driving assessment in June of 2014. So that's where somebody was actually along with him and seeing how he ran, and it was completely unnotable except for the fact that it happened. His last biannual, and by biannual we mean every other year, rules test was in March of 2014, and we're not going to say the date yet, but 2 days prior to that, on March 5th, 2015, he attended an annual safety meeting. So there was definitely the sort of things that he should be aware of should have been fresh on his mind, considering that he had gone through all of these classes, these trainings, and these assessments.
Yeah.
Yeah, patchy, but there is stuff going on. You know,
Yeah,
there
they had
are elite
concepts
checks.
of plans of safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I figured the very basic, like, I used to work with a guy who, when I would relieve him, he would go, "All right, you remember what to do? All right, have a good night. Don't hit anything," and then he'd walk off. And I kind of feel like that's the very basic that you should be taken away from all of this, no matter how far or how long it's been since the last assessment.
Okay.
But he didn't have an unblemished record. You know.
No, he
not have
did
an
have he did have a previous SPAD incident, the signal passed at danger in 2005. It was in the investigation. It was attributed to a lack of concentration as a result of significant, difficult events having recently occurred in his personal life, and that's a direct quote from the report. As such, since he had a SPAD, he was put on a special monitoring program. Every year, he had to be assessed for the risk of lack of concentration, and West Coast Railway took a look at him and said, "Nah, you're fine," and didn't ever give him extra monitoring, which really seems like a symptom of the good old boys club.
Yeah, it's not going to be the first. Not the first whoops horn that we hear relating to West Coast Railway Company. Spoiler alert, everyone.
Yeah, I can see the thought process of like, it's been 10 years, he's fine.
It was a one-off thing. It's okay. Mel's a good guy. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I would love to know what the significant difficult event was, because in one case it's like, oh yeah, his wife died is a lot more of like an understandable thing than he's moving or something like that.
Or he's got divorced, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, like I need to know the trauma before we pass judgment, which we don't have. So anyways, we're gonna go on now to
Let's assume the worst. That's funnier.
Yes.
I was about to say I kind of get it to a certain degree. I had to call off work for 2 days after I had a dog die.
Yeah, and you did the right thing there, which is make the call to not be at work.
Well, I could have made it a little sooner. I came all the way in and started looking at the work I had to do and realized I couldn't figure out a plan for it, and then went, I shouldn't be here today, and then went home.
But this guy was on a train and had
he
not
didn't
made that decision and was in charge of a train. So So mixed. You know, we don't know. But let's, for the sake of podcasting bits, let's just assume that that actually his wife had threatened him with divorce, and he was very grumpy about this.
Extremely divorced man Mel Cox is a good bit.
Let's
but
hit that next slide.
Yeah, now we have to talk about a national man of mystery.
Ooh.
So we know a lot about one guy, but damn near nothing about the other. So Mel was working with a fireman because they're on a steam locomotive, but who is he? Oh, he had volunteered for quote unquote various heritage railways since the mid 1980s. Had worked as both a driver and a fireman. Been working with the Tangmere, initially on the support crew, since 2003. He was also on a 0-hour contract with the West Coast Railway Company since 2009. His last performance assessment was September of 2014, passed his rulebook test in May of 2013, and attended an annual safety briefing day in July of 2014. Now, notably, the firemen are not required to have route knowledge.
No. You're just shoveling coal, and you can assist. You can be out. The driver can say, "Can you assist with this? Can you look?" But your role is to shovel the coal,
and it's not super hard to figure out signals. So if you can, see a few and kind of figure out the pattern to it, then you'll make a great spotter for the driver.
Yes. Yeah, and we don't really have a CRM in West Coast Railway's rule book at all, so nobody's like expecting equal duties out of these guys. No one's expecting an equal work environment. Also, something else to note, the fireman has been a member of Tangmere's crew since 2003. Mel has also been familiar with Tangmere since like the completion of the rebuilding in 2004. Like, I think one of the first runs into London with the locomotive was with him at the controls. So I found an article of that was like, from wherever the hell he's from, it was like local boy drives steam train. What like
Yeah.
it, and it basically, I just want to say that neither of these guys was unfamiliar with the locomotive they were operating. This wasn't like, baby's first time in a steam locomotive. This was a guy who had worked with steam locomotives for a long time, and specifically with this steam locomotive for at least 12 years. So just that we all are aware with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't uncharted territory.
No. And then here we have the root knowledge slide.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this kind of
Yeah.
neatly follows on from the conversation we're having, because
Yeah.
having described root knowledge in abstract, we can now say, Mel had signed his root traction cards, so that means he's got the combination of root knowledge and on the and on Tangmere, and also had been driving this route on coal ash trains, about a dozen times in the last calendar year. This is what it says in the slide in front of me, listeners. I don't know this in my head. But like the point of this is that the broad point here is there's Mel had the knowledge. He has the understanding of this route. He is competent and qualified to be operating that train on that route, and that's the key point.
Yeah, and if he wasn't, he said he was, and that's worse.
Yeah, well, yeah.
There's times to fake it till you make it, and being in charge of a train is not one of those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, not with the multiple hundreds of people in the train behind you. Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Now, freight trains, that's fine. I can speak from experience. It all works out just fine. You'll figure it out eventually. If all else fails, just put it in emergency.
Yeah. And as we said already, the fireman was not route qualified, nor did West Coast Rail require him to be. And then we do have this lovely snippet from the RAIB investigation. There's no clear evidence as to why the driver did not apply his route knowledge effectively on the approach to Wootton Bassett Junction on the specific date, which we haven't named yet.
Yeah.
I feel like that whole line right there just could have been replaced with the shrug emoji.
Yeah.
We got no idea. I guess this guy's just an idiot.
I don't know why you
now
didn't
we
remember.
have to talk about the company. What company was involved? We have West Coast Railways.
They are. Yeah.
West Coast.
We need more guests with soundboards.
We do. We really
If
do.
you have a soundboard and would like to be on the show, send us an email. The email address is in the description. I'm not going to try to get through it.
Read it out. Read it out. Come on.
Where's my pen?
Where's that tattoo of yours? Just go to Google Slides and just read.
All right. The address is syddowtw@gmail.com. And yes, I do have to write it out somewhere every single time.
Hang on. If we're doing Jeopardy, you have to say, what is syddowtw@gmail.com?
I'm out.
But
I bet my
West
whole
Coast-
bank on that too.
West Coast Railways was formed in June 1998, was the first privately owned train operating company in Britain, which, again, getting into British rail history here, after the dissolution of British Rail in the mid-1990s, they did this really weird thing that the Europeans seem to love doing, which is that one organization owns the track, another organization owns the train, and then another organization gets the privileges to run the train on the track, neither of which they own.
Correct. Yes.
And so what West Coast Railways did was very inventive, was that they were basically the first privately owned one, as opposed to ones run by Virgin Group, Stagecoach Group.
Yeah, non-franchise, so open access. They're the kind of super early open access operator. For anyone who knows kind of what that is, Google it. We talk RailNet, I talk about open access all the time. You can find out what that is very easily. But West Coast Railways. So if anyone's going, wait a minute, I thought the railways were privatized in 1993. So what's going on? Well, yeah, actually, there was a bit of a weird period where we had bits of British Rail were being chopped off and privatized in varying kind of timings. So we had the start of the sale of, so we had these kind of train operating units that were still basically British Rail. And then those ended up, sometimes they were management buyouts, sometimes they were bought, and those then turned into franchised operators. So yeah.
Do you know what the first part of BR to be privatized was?
The first part of BR to be privatized was C-Link.
No, it wasn't. It was the Vale of Rydal.
Oh,
They-
yes. Very good point.
They were the first
okay,
one.
nerd.
That-
Yes, it's true.
Narrow gauge steam line in Wales?
They were
Yeah.
BR. The locomotives were painted BR blue. They just repainted one this year into
Okay,
BR
that's
blue
kinda
again.
rad.
They were narrow gauge, a former Great Western operation in Wales, and they ran that way until I want to say the late 80s or the early 90s, and they got
No.
privatized because Barbara Castle, the transport minister, had a soft spot for them.
So, okay. So this wasn't okay. They were privatized in 1989, but that is later than the first bit of BR that was privatized. The first bit of BR that privatized was Sea-Link, which was
it
way
Sea-Link?
back. Sea-Link, the ferry operators, which was way back in the it was in the 60s and the 70s where that kind of privatized, but certainly in the 80s is when it got fully privatized. And then British Rail Engineering Limited got privatized, and the actual privatizations then followed later. But no, I get to pull a winner on that, because actually, yes, that Vale of Rydal was privatized, but actually, you might say it was the first train operator that was privatized. But the first bit of British Rail was in fact the ferries, and then after that is British Rail Engineering Limited.
A special nerd territory. What's the TOPS code for the Sea-Link ferries?
Oh, isn't it 99?
Yes, it is. It's class 99.
Class 99, yeah, that's it. But also, weirdly, some departmental trains, and now, even more confusingly, a tri-mode diesel, electric, and battery locomotive is now called the Class 99. So,
they do all that.
Consider everyone puzzled.
Like the Class 89, because there's only one of it, that allocation is also now for all the historic diesels that don't want to like D something else. Like they technically are listed as 89, whatever it is. But we're getting off track.
The Class 37s.
I was about to say, I'm about to bring out the lasso for both of you.
Yeah, they got turned into Class 98, so departmental Class 37s that had ETCS, in-cab signaling fitted
Zach,
into them.
you need to get the British train autism like the two of us.
I know.
Speaking of
West Coast Railways,
speaking of historic locomotives, WCR not only ran charter trains, they also provided locomotives for spot hire, which is why you'll sometimes see like Deltics and Class 20s running normal services, because they will absolutely charter the engines out. They have a wide fleet of historic locomotives that they both own internally, like Tangmere and a bunch of other ones, and also ones that they are like preferred charterers of. Like for example, like I think like Flying Scotsman. Flying Scotsman is not owned by WCR, but it's a preferred charter, so they get to run it on behalf of the NRM, or but they own they did own like Olton Hall. So when the Hogwarts Express charters were run in the early 2000s, that was a WCR train.
Yes.
And they also, nowadays, they also have electric locomotives as well. So they have like a couple Class 86s and some other things like that, because those are now old enough to be historic.
Oh, yeah. Don't make me cry. Old enough to be historic, and yet we're still not electrifying our railways. So
nope. Why would we do that?
That's a paradox right there.
The Class 89, the Class 90s are getting scrapped. The 89 is a museum piece, and the 91s are going away. You guys are fine.
We're doing great. We're doing great over here.
WCR is based out of the Carnforth Motive Power Depot, which is in Carnforth somewhere. Sure, I don't know where it is.
It's Lancashire. Yeah, it's
Lancashire. Zach thinks it looks like a scrapyard from the photos that he could find on Google.
It really does. They have a lot of stuff sitting around waiting to get worked on.
It does. And then as we'll go along in the next couple of slides, they have a history of getting into trouble and are very, very laissez-faire, especially in regards to things like safety. And they're owned by David Smith, the same guy who owns CRRES, who owns Tangmere, who owns a bunch of other things. So just all this like, I have a feeling that if you were allowed to have a TOC that also owned locomotives and didn't have to like be your own like Roscoe as well, it would just be there would be a lot more simplified corporate structure, but he definitely is doing this all in-house.
Yeah, it's worth also saying a little bit of trivia. Carnforth also were Brief Encounter. Anyone who knows Brief Encounter as a film, if you like black and white films, you like romance, and people kissing each other once in the whole runtime of a film, then Brief Encounter is all for you. And that was filmed at Carnforth railway station. It's one of those train movies. It's referred to as a train film because the train is a character in it. But yeah, Carnforth railway station is where Brief Encounter was filmed.
Neat.
There you go.
And now we're going to go on to the history of West Coast Railway's lack of safety. So we're starting out here.
So much here. We are gonna have to blow through a lot of this.
I just want to point.
It's bad though.
So I want to point out this great fruitage or arrow styling on the Rail Safety and Standards Board's website.
Oh, it's so horrible. It's so bad.
There's a whole history of it went from there's a whole different set of boards. There was this, then there's the RAB, before this was the HSE. HSE, which is criminally negligent. That's probably actionable, but that's fine. They just hid everything and didn't report on half the accidents. Then it went from them back to the RSSB, and the RSSB just because it was not really suitably in their remit, basically half-assed it. That was the outcome, even if there were people working hard on it. And then finally, it got as a result of multiple recommendations from some big accidents, the RAIB got formed. So kind of at that point, it was more like an NTSB type situation where you had a dedicated, nominally independent organization that oversaw it, and they're kind of related to the AAIB, which is our air accident investigation branch. They both in the same, they have nominally share an office. They're very close to each other, so they kind of operate closely. In the interest of speed, I'm going to go through these as quickly as I can. So up here at the top, we've got a list of the major accidents that West Coast Railways has had. You'll note there's a few here that are fairly bad. I believe so. The ones on this slide are this wasn't that crunchy when I first snipped it. I apologize for this, but this is the
rationing pixel. It's fine.
This is the Glenn Douglas and the Ordsall Lane incidents. So the Glenn Douglas one was in 2003. Basically, a West Coast Railways train went into a passing loop outside somewhere in Scotland.
Where the nuclear weapons get stored. It's the loop where the nuclear weapons get delivered. Yes,
that's fantastic. I didn't know that. The people who were in charge of the train were not correctly, it was being moved by an unauthorized member of staff because it was an empty stock move, and so nobody cared. They did not measure how long the train was versus the nuclear weapons sighting, and so the train stuck out over the edge of the far edge of the sighting as the passenger train that was passing them in the other direction went by and smacked into the back of it. So very bad things went on. I would say they learned nothing, but maybe they just learned to hide it more, because there wasn't another accident until 2012, which was a minor thing in Wood Green. And then the Ordsall Lane accident happened in January of 2013, which is that they had just reprofiled the wheels on this class 47 right here, and the locomotive climbed the flange, which is something that we've all done, I assume. But weirdly, it burst into flames and burned to the ground. I'm not certain how this happened.
Fancy some extra attention. Just while I'm here, I'm gonna light up. No one cares now, and up it went. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if we're already having a bad day, we might as well just make it worse.
Yeah. The engine went and commit die. So, I'm not. The RAIB seems to think that basically the removal of residual lubricant from the wheels basically meant that there was no friction. No, there was more friction on the wheel, so it was more ready to climb up the side of the rail.
Yeah.
Next slide, we have to talk about the much.
Oh no.
The Winchfield accident, which is really bad. So this is surprise, fucking Tangmere. Basically, because the Bulliard's specialist valve gear, the specialist boy valve gear is very bad. Very bad if you let it.
Very bad. It's very bad.
It's
No,
very bad. It's the
no,
worst.
no.
Um,
You get out of
bas-
here.
Basically, what happened is
Be
that
gone, you orange freak.
if you don't maintain it perfectly, it decides to commit die, like that 47 did. And so this is bad because the way it's connected together means that the connecting rod will just fall off and fall straight down. And
Whoop.
this is not good because that means that the engine can be pole vaulted.
You know, let's talk about the Nazi big anchor that they trash track with.
Yes.
Imagine that, but point forward
Yeah,
under
point.
train.
Yeah, imagine if the engine was trying to go for like the pole vaulting world record. This is actually so uncommon of an accident that the RAIB was like, we have anecdotal evidence that it happened once in the 60s. And we have to give special thanks to the Australians for letting us read their accident report for one time when this happened on a preserved locomotive out there, which thankfully that engine did it in like a place where there was really soft ground. And so the rod went straight down,
Okay.
like into the dirt. But and to give you an idea, the other problem is that, like we talked about in the Gettysburg episode, there is a lack of knowledge about this because every other bullion with this valve gear was either rebuilt or scrapped. So Tangmere is the only one that still has this instead of a more conventional Walschertz or Baker motion. I think they're all Walschertz now, but I'm not a chuffer nutter like that. So they do not have a rebuilt movement at all on Tangmere. So what happened is the engine had this thing where it was making a noise, and the crew was like, huh, that sounds weird. And so they just kept going, and then it kept making a noise, like, we'll deal with that when we stop it for coal in a little bit. And then what happened is that it disconnected from the crosshead and fell off. And that's bad. And the only reason it wasn't worse is that they were on the southern region, and it fell onto the cover of the third rail. And so did not actually, because the southern region had invested very heavily into third rail electrification, so it dropped straight down onto the cover for the third rail and did not pole vault the locomotive 10 feet into the air.
Did the sickest grind along that cover. Think about how many points that combo would have gotten in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2.
And then actually we have a video here from a foamer about half an hour before this happened. Because of how I put the audio from this in the episode when I do the editing, can nobody talk for like a minute just that we don't have to like any cross contamination of the audio. But
okay.
It's So yeah, that
I was muting myself because I was just going, no, don't like that a lot.
That clanking noise is not supposed to happen.
I think I'm going to make a new hobby where I'm just going to play that video to my friends who have worked on steam locomotives and not show them the video and just go, tell me when you get concerned.
Yeah.
That's not a good noise. And I do like that they heard this. They heard this for like 30 minutes and they didn't do anything. They're like, we'll deal with it in a bit. And it's like, no, guy, this is not the check engine light has come on. This is when the check engine light is flashing on your dashboard.
This is when your dashboard has fallen out from behind.
Best Christmas tree impression.
Supposed to be. Yeah.
Although I will say, once I had a car that did the full Christmas tree on the dash, and no, I didn't stop. But do you know what happened? About 5 minutes later, the car stopped. So.
Self-solving problem, yeah. I have a suspicion that the right thing here is if you're in a locomotive that is known to have, let's say, finicky kind of running gear, a noise like that should be an immediate red flag of, okay, yikes, let's make train stop. But apparently these guys have. Apparently that Tangmere has an effect on its crews that stops them from stopping.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Yeah, no. The end result, the RIB said, which is the RIB was great. They didn't look at all for the bit that fell off. So they think that the gudgeon pin fell out and like broke in some fashion, but they're not sure because they didn't find it.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Yeah.
Yep. So, anyways, on to the next slide. This is
More
from
safety?
this is actually from the accident. We may have to come back to this one in a little bit. I think I put
We're
this
kind
in
of
the
doing
wrong...
a bit of a Columbo situation here, where we're kind of like all of you kind of get what happened here. We've referred to the fact that this, you kind of know what's coming. We're kind of doing the kind of the Columbo situation here. Where we're going to tell you how it got done.
Yeah, we're not showing the murder until the very end, though. So it's like CSI, where we have the body in front of us. And we're like, oh fuck, now we got to talk about everything. Basically, this is from the accident report. The West Coast Railways had a weak safety culture, as per the RAIB. A big thing that should be noted is that, like, so this one down here in the 2014 accident was when they set a line-side fire with this is actually with Olton Hall. The Hogwarts Express caused this fire. J.K. Rowling continuing to harm Britain. But something that they noticed during this was that the onboard data recorder was not functioning on the locomotive at that time, which is a continuing thing through this accident. So we'll get to this in a little bit, but in the cab of Tangmere were two other people who were present, and only one was permitted. I assume they were both like representatives of David Smith or West Coast Railways. The driver was not tested for drugs and alcohol immediately following the accident. The driver could... What's the WON, Gareth? I forget.
Weekly operating notice is the thing that was out saying.
So it's like the NOTAMs for airplanes. Basically, he did not remember reading those, and it had become accepted practice for the train crew to use the AWS isolating cock to bypass the AWS system. And again, we'll talk about the AWS in a moment.
That's like a big sort of...
For those of you who remember, several episodes ago, Zach talked about how he once brushed the panel in the trolley on Dart with his bag and knocked several security tags off. And
yes.
And you had to got like a week's...
Oh yeah, I reported it immediately and was still out for investigation because several seals were broken without authorization. And it was easily cleared, but until they did it and could have it on record as to why it happened and that there was no actual safety risk past that, it was like I was basically on lockdown.
And in contrast to that, West Coast Rail, the crews usually didn't notice if the isolating cock had been locked out, tagged out. And then it was done so frequently that there were a pile of the tags sitting on the floor of the cab, like just in the corner. And then, which it should be noted, this wasn't always being done for nefarious purposes. Backup maneuvers oftentimes made the AWS freak out a little bit, so they did have to do that, but it wasn't being noted in any way. Also, the seals were numbered, but no one at West Coast Railways was ever paying attention to the numbers or writing down the numbers and associating them with a person. So at no point so basically the numbers were useless. And then something else we'll get to in a bit. We'll talk about the AWS system in more detail, but you couldn't really hear the warnings in the cab, and the data recorder was not being maintained appropriately.
Saves weight.
So bits of it. Actually, no. It adds weight because bits of it were broken, but it was still there.
Yeah, that's a fair point. This is just absolute. It's I've been grinding my teeth and wincing throughout that, whilst also mashing my soundboard.
Yeah, I'm antsy over here. This makes me uncomfortable.
This is the libertarian railways right here.
Yep.
This is like, and so we'll go on to the next slide. Just in 2015, this happened. After the accident in 2015, which we're talking about now, in June 2015, it was reported that a train had moved forward at the same time the doors were open. In August of 2015, it was reported that the company had no systems in place for keeping drivers updated with route changes. On the 5th of September 2015, a train hit the buffer at Weymouth, and this wasn't reported to the ORR. On the 15th of September, it was reported that risk assessments for steam operation were outdated and the staff didn't know they existed.
Oh,
On the 2nd of October, it was reported that a service had an unauthorized TPWS activation at Hexthorpe Junction in Doncaster, which we'll talk about in just a second. On the 24th of November 2015, ORR temporarily prohibited West Coast Railways from operating steam trains because of the incident in October.
Yeah.
In November 26th, 2 days later, a train at Bath Spa moved a full meter with the doors open and passengers boarding.
Oh my God.
And then there was an improvement notice served following an inspection in Southall due to issues around health and safety.
This is
Keep in mind, this is within a 6-month period of time.
This is beyond cultural. This is broken.
It's load-bearing safety failures.
Yeah, it's so bad.
And
this is like the kind of stuff I would expect to hear about from like a guy who has like a live steam railroad in his backyard,
or the Gettysburg,
which I mean technically was.
Yeah. So
it's just a big toy to them.
It's
going on to the Hexthorpe incident. This one was a really bad one. So I mentioned that doing the backup maneuvers makes like the TPWS and the AWS systems kind of go kooky because the train has like activated the signal before the locomotive passes over the magnet. So this is a situation where you're actually supposed to use the isolation clocks for the TPWS and the AWS systems. Now, the problem is that the driver hadn't done this when he started the reverse move, so the thing went off, and probably because his coworker ran through a red signal and there was a massive investigation about it a couple of months ago, he actually stopped and called the signaler and said, "Hey, man, I accidentally did the thing. Give me a minute to reset everything."
Oh, good on him.
As he was supposed to. As his back was turned, the fireman scuttled over, twiddling his mustache like Dick Dastardly, and disabled the AWS and TPWS system, cycled it off, turned it, did the thing to basically release the brakes, and then entered the self-testing phase. He acknowledged that, manually released the brakes, opened the regulator, and started moving the train while the guy was still on the radio. And freaked the fuck out of him.
This is bad.
That driver, the fact that driver did not get a note in this report that a whole paragraph that was just like the driver then threw several punches at the fireman. The fact that didn't make an appearance means he has way more restraint than I would have. There would have been.
I want to hear.
There would have been a fight in that cab.
I want to hear the recording of him talking to the signaler. Like, did he release the button on the radio and then say, "Sorry, I tripped"? Or did he "Oh shit," and then on the radio and then have to explain, no, I just had to, give me a second, bang, 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 bang. And
it's just breathtaking. Absolutely breathtaking.
And
this is incredible.
The fireman stated that he was aware he should not have done this, but he did it anyways to save time.
No. Gareth, give me the biggest buzzer you have, please, for the love of God. No, you never, ever rush safety to save time. Never.
And if you do, for some stupid fucking reason, make sure that both of you are in on it.
I mean, yeah, that's if you're going to do it right.
Oh, my,
This is just I can't. But now that we've done this, in case any of you have raised your blood pressure, this is a good time to pause the locomotive, to pause the stream, take some medication, and come back in a few minutes. We're not going to do that. We're going to go straight on. If any of you who want to keep going, we're just keep on chugging with us. Now that your blood pressure is back up when you see this, what the fuck is this?
So we have
You
to
look at
talk
this and your
about-
blood pressure just goes up immediately.
Yeah, so everyone is just taking all their blood thinners. I'm sorry, but
Okay,
you
I'm
might-
beta
you take more
blockers.
warfarin.
I'm going to take a
pressure.
crack at this. No matter what track you're coming on, fuck you, stop.
This is biblically accurate signaling.
I mean, you say that, but that is absolutely correct because every single signal here is set to stop your damn train.
Well, I mean, even at that, when in doubt, take the safest course. And if I come up to a signal I can't read, stop.
Stop. Yeah, stop.
I'm going to call that signal man. Hey, which one of these stops is mine?
This is rugby on the West Coast Main Line, and this is one of the famous gantries. It's nuts. Look at this. It's chaos. What's funny is that you can see one track under the portal nearest us, so it's just extremely puzzling.
I do have another question, which is that is the signal box under construction or something? Because I see like a building being erected next to the signal gantry.
No, those are because they're actually building a new. Those appear to be building a new intersection bridge for the railway to cross over. That's what that looks like to me. And they're putting sort of formwork in for a bridge
good.
going.
We're making more complications. Lovely.
Yeah, that's right. And you can see a very large,
Yeah.
lengthy mechanical signal box in the background, which will be the. I suppose, as you'd put it, the interlocking for all of what you can see here will be through that.
I want to see the inside of that. How many levers?
The lever frame for this just must be like the engine interior in Snowpiercer.
Yes, but
There's
also
a child
what
that's replacing a lever somewhere.
One thing is the levers up top, but it's the interlocking underneath that would be absolutely, staggering and breathtaking. All of the kind of
underground.
The metalwork, all that brick thing. Well, no, under the brick of the signal box in the background, you can see the white painted top part.
Yeah.
The brick underneath has all the metal interlocking, all the kind of funny shaped keys and jigsaw puzzly stuff that makes sure that all the stuff interacts properly and you don't get signals saying a thing that isn't actually correct. So anyway,
if I was coming up on this and I knew that, let's say I was coming up on this and I had an approach, but usually at this time I had a clear through here. When I show up, how am I supposed to know that I'm looking at the right signal to tell me to either stop or continue through?
Well, you would have excellent route knowledge and also probably just guesswork. No, this is signals. And you might say, well, okay, signaling. I know about signaling, railway signaling, right? Well,
you don't know about this signaling.
Not this signal, no. Welcome to hell. Signaling is about stopping trains hitting each other. That's the point of it. It started out, it dates back, literally 2,000 years. There was forms of signaling for very, very early railways that the Romans had. That more on that in a book that I've not published yet because that's not very well known history. You're getting it exclusively right here. So signaling. But as we know it, we had in the modern railway system, signaling emerged reasonably quickly. Indeed, the first uses of commercial electronics were for railway signaling, albeit just to start the winding engine because the carriages were being hauled by a rope. So signaling's about stopping trains from hitting each other. And that's all fine and good. We have a simple railway. The signaling is fine, right? But as the railway gets more complicated, as it starts looking more like this, you start putting a lot, as you've alluded to, you start putting a lot more load onto the drivers, and therefore they start needing some aids to kind of support them in not fucking up and not missing a signal and kind of understanding. As the railway gets more complex, particularly as Britain is a damp shithole where we have a lot of fog, fog makes seeing the signals harder. So it's useful to have a what you might call an automated control system. Now, the first one of these, there were early kind of versions of these, but one of the kind of the first widespread introductions of these was called ATC, not to be confused with later similar sounding technologies introduced by the Great Western Railway. So that is kind of that was a system that essentially provided it was an electrical, but a direct contact electrical system that sounded a bell in the cab of the train. Now, that might then raise the question, okay, so you've got that. Then we have to introduce AWS. So next slide, please. Because what is that? What is AWS? Next slide, please. Well, it is, of course, Amazon Web Services, of course. That is... I'm not going to play the whole thing.
What the
Yeah, no,
fuck was that?
What was that?
it's a lengthy punchline. It's such a funny joke. It merited me to desperately insert huge numbers of people laughing because it was so funny. I suppose I could have also gone like this,
No, what was that sound effect from?
I don't know, because it's a sound effect that I think was used in the Chris Moyles show in the late 90s and early 2000s, which I listened to when I would go to school. And I'm pretty sure it's a gag punchline that maybe I'll
That's
save
incredible.
it up if there's another good gag later and we can listen to the whole thing. You can enjoy it in all its glory, listeners. Anyway, Amazon Web Services. No, this is not Amazon Web Services.
We're going to the next slide. And
This is AWS.
This is biblically accurate too.
I love this
You know,
diagram so much.
It's so good. And contrary to what it might look like on here, on the train, it's kind of fiddly, but basically this is quite a straightforward system. You have a magnet, and that magnet works by having, there are two magnets, actually. One of them is always powered, and the one behind it gets powered electrically. And when it's powered electrically, the magnet basically cancels itself out. So you go over the first magnet sets the system up, and then the second magnet, when powered, shuts the system back down again, which means that you've got a clear signal. Train continues. All the gubbins in the train doesn't activate the brakes. But if the power, and this is of course because it can fail safe. So if your electrical power supply fails, then it means that the signal, the system fails safe in theory. If the second electromagnet is not powered, then it means that the signal is at caution, and it can apply the brakes if you don't actively override the system, right? And there's also a system that gives you an acknowledgement when you go past AWS. So you go through the system. In fact, next slide, please, and we can kind of explain what's going on. So we have an input of so you have a green signal or a double yellow aspect, basically any aspect that is a proceed aspect. You have this thing, the magnet, the double magnet in the track. Here it is. You can see it. It's this very distinctive shape. They're all over Britain's railways. The train will activate. You'll get the gubbins will happen. You'll pass over the magnets. That will then the driver interface will go. It will not be activated. You'll get no sunflower, and the output is nada. Nothing happens. Great, marvelous, good stuff. However, next slide, please. So if you then have a situation where you pass a danger or a stop signal, then the magnet will not have been the electromagnet will not have been activated, which will go into the gubbins in the train and activate the driver interface. And if you do not, without a response, you will have an emergency brake application. This is a key thing. So emergency brake application. Train driving towards. I'll just say that again for clarity. So train driving towards the signal. Train runs over the AWS magnet. If the electromagnet is de-energized, the AWS receiver detects only one magnetic field in the sequence, which doesn't then get cancelled out. This makes the electromagnet. This basically means that you will then get an activation. Passes over the magnets. You then get. I just want to be really explicit about how this works. So, you will get a next signal displays a restrictive aspect. AWS audible indicator will sound a continuous alarm. The sunflower that we've got on screen will display. The driver has 2 seconds to press and release the AWS acknowledgement button. After pressing that button, the audible indicator is silenced. The visual indicator will show, and the spoke pattern persists until the train reaches the next AWS magnet, and kind of serves as a reminder to the driver of the fact that they've hit a signal. So that sunflower will continue to display after the driver has cancelled the horn, because that sunflower says, "Driver, you have cancelled an AWS warning. Look out for the next signal. Something is about to happen. You need to do something." So that was a reasonably convoluted explanation, but essentially that gives you a system that provides protection for your train.
So
go on.
Is it basically a form of a vigilance system? Not in that it's making sure you're paying attention as you're going down the track, but paying attention specifically for signals. Exactly.
So trains have, you have the dead man's handle on trains, and have done for a long time as well anyway, which is a thing that drivers have to, I think it's every 7 seconds or something that drivers have to acknowledge, otherwise there will be a brake application. This is this basically adds, it's similar to that. Yes. Yeah, so it's a hey, look, thing has happened. It could have happened.
Pay
and the driver
attention. Pay
respond to it.
attention.
And you know what? So this is fairly robust. So we've kind of had this for a long time, and we continue to use it. It's a functioning system. Next slide, please. And we're still installing. This is a upgraded version of it, but it's essentially the same thing. It is a AWS magnet. We're still using them because it's a pretty straightforward and essentially bomb-proof system. It doesn't stop trains necessarily, though. It's not good enough to stop trains in all conditions and all circumstances. So we spread AWS got rolled out at scale, but it has limitations. So it cannot. It can only has two warning states, for example. Two indication states. So either clear or stop. AWS doesn't say it's a warning signal versus a stop signal, so the driver has to be aware of their surroundings and so on. It requires the acknowledge button to be pressed by the driver, which means that on a busy railway with lots of signals, the driver can kind of get used to cancelling caution aspects all the time and inadvertently therefore cancel a red. It is possible for there to be a wrong side failure and the driver get no indication whatsoever, for various technical reasons. So there's various ways why this isn't good. So next slide, please.
But it doesn't seem like a terrible first attempt.
No, it's not. I mean, this is the
first widespread attempt.
Yeah, the first kind of Britain-wide, system-wide system, a kind of a protection system. It was good. It was good. And so we went from this, and British Rail started developing a new, more complex system that would solve some problems. That would be an improvement on the previous sort of system, and this was automatic train protection, and it was developed in sort of through the 1980s because there's an uptick in as we were running more trains, we were getting an uptick in signals passed at danger, and so this new safety system was kind of being developed at that point. And the Clapham Junction crash in 1988, which itself was not actually a SPAD, but it did. The reports into that stipulated BR had to implement ATP nationwide to reduce these sort of scary incidents.
All right.
Wow, I'm glad to see that
So
we've
you
never
think,
had
great.
another issue, right?
Yeah, seems
Yeah,
reasonable.
and then we rolled that out, and the problem was solved. Next slide, please.
You learn from your mistakes. Oh,
No, that's an enormous. Welcome to Britain. No, what we actually did was not that because it was considered too expensive. So we rolled it out on the intercity route out of Paddington, so the Great Western Main Line out to like Bristol. We rolled out along that, and the Chiltern line has it, and that's it. No further.
Yeah, didn't they say that it was like it cost more than the per human life than the actuarial table said was correct? Was like worth it?
Yeah, it was basically, yeah, there was it was like, no, it's not economical, and we assume that like compared to the value in lives saved, it's not worth it. It would cost us basically like £1 billion to roll this out, and we'd be saving only be about kind of £9 million a year would be saving in deaths of people, so it's not worth it. Which is like, well, two things to that is maybe there are other benefits that you're not calculating in there that this system would offer, but also maybe actually we can do better than that when it comes to thinking about safety. You know what?
I would like to call back to the question I asked earlier regarding American railroads not getting automatic brakes on their train because it was cheaper to just keep paying for the funerals of brakemen than it was to equip their entire fleets with automatic air brakes.
Yeah, well,
it's the same vibes.
I'm a big fan of as low as reasonably practicable. So reducing risk to be as low as reasonably practicable. That's the legal test that, for me as an engineer, evaluates everything I do. And I can understand that this system felt like it was too much, even though actually there would be lots of other side effects and benefits of rolling this system out. So instead, an alternative. 1994, also this is helped by privatization, of course, because Railtrack arrived and were like, fuck that, we ain't spending a penny. We're here to just make money as a management consultant. So Railtrack basically decided,
old as time.
Fuck BR, fuck the automatic train protection system. We're going to come up with a cheaper system. And the cheaper system was called TPWS, or Train Protection and Warning System. So next slide, please. This thing is toasters. It looks like toast racks out on the track, and it works by having loops. It works as having two pair of electronic loops placed kind of a distance apart from each other on the approach side of the signal, depending on the speed of the trains, energized when it's at danger. The distance between the loops determines the minimum speed which the onboard equipment will apply the train's emergency brake. And when the TPWS receiver on the train passes over the first loop, timer begins to count down. If the second loop is passed before the timer reaches 0, you have an activation. The greater the line speed, the more widely spaced the two loops will be. So you have to spread them out when the train's going fast. And you can use these in two ways. So you can use them as a train stop arrangement, which is where you have the loop, the trigger and the arming loops right next to each other. It makes some sense. And then you can, by spreading them apart, you can use them as an overspeed sensor. So that means you basically much greater use case than AWS, not as much as ATP, but this is a much more broad and applicable and useful system. And so it's good. There are lots of different ways you can use it. It's kind of standardized in-cab equipment that's been largely incorporated. In the AWS has kind of been incorporated into that system as well. Next slide, please. So that's kind of the technology of how it works.
This looks simple.
Yeah. So inputs can include, danger and stop signals, caution stop signals. They can include speeds. So I've got, the speed boards there, cut out, weird one of like the 40 cutout and more traditional sign. And also some Morpeth boards there. The triangles say there will be a reduction in speed. So not just, so speeds and also ends of track. So
We've also got buffers for you to rate.
Exactly. This one I would rate as probably a 1 or maybe a 0, because this is just a bullhead launch pad. The train hits this, the thing crumples and sends the train into the sky. And those are the inputs. The train interface interface with the track, between the train and the track, are these little toast racks. Interestingly, you can see an AWS magnet in the background there for comparison of size. They are often concurrent systems running next to each other. So you can see there, and then train goes over these and Gubbins happens. And you'll get there's an interface for the driver, and the driver gets is kind of, but the driver can't cancel this stuff. You will get an emergency brake application. There's no escaping this from the TPWS. This is it's a much more assertive system. Let's put it that way.
One way to escape it, as we've found.
Well, yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, quite. So TPWS, it's a good system. It is a good system. Next slide, please. I think.
Oops, hold on, wrong button. Slideshow. There we go.
Yes,
and
so
here we go. The AWS.
And let's talk about the context. Why is all of this discussion about signaling systems and protection systems relevant?
Because they put it on a steam engine. They put it on an old kettle. And so I would like to point out, speaking of context, British Rail did fit AWS systems to these engines in period. That's how old the system is. Yep. And obviously, it did not survive 20 plus years in Barry Scrapyard. It remained actually, it kind of did. Most of the system remained in place throughout its time.
Plus the gubbins, because of course there has to be mechanical and kind of valve gear and stuff like that that's associated.
Yeah, it's not just that kind of seizes up when you leave it in a scrapyard for 20 years.
The alerter mechanisms inside the cab apparently did survive, but when Ian Riley and company were rebuilding Tangmere in 2000, they had a company called Resco Rail that's now no longer in business.
R.I.P.
Do the installation in Tangmere using National Railways supplies TPWS and AWS equipment, or at least NRS was like supplying the equipment that might have been made by someone else. So there was a regulation at the time that said that the AWS's maximum volume had to be 95 decibels, which is fucking loud. We should just all indicate, but the problem is that the issue was twofold. The BR system that had been sitting in there for 40 plus years at that stage was allegedly too loud. I don't know how they tested that, but it was allegedly over that limit, which seems like a well-intentioned thing. Obviously, we don't want to cause hearing damage. We don't want to scare the driver. We don't want to give anyone a reason to maybe try and muffle the sound of the thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
The issue is that in the cab of Tangmere, with the steam shut off, was 85 decibels. When the engine is accelerating and with the injectors on, it's 91 decibels.
Yet
which means
they're
that you have
they're
about
loud.
you have
Well,
about
there's your problem.
4 decibels.
This is why I have my aforementioned hearing damage, because I was a dumb child that didn't wear earplugs in steam locomotives.
Yeah, this is why most steam engine crews wear hearing protection. So you're muffling it already, and the engine is 90 decibels constantly. So you're
And
dealing with a lot of different noises.
for
this is-
for context, 95 decibels is like the volume of an air-powered jackhammer. So if you were near that all the time and then somebody was setting off a jackhammer, you might not notice.
No, you wouldn't. And so there's a lot that went into actually installing this, because as with everything in this story, documentation is sparse. Ian Riley and Son stated that the Resco had done almost everything. Resco employees who were found later said that they had a very limited role. There's also evidence to support that because this is basically a plug-and-play system that was designed and tested on other steam locomotives, that no design documentation was required or produced. So basically, it's in there.
Oh, yeah.
It's an as-built. It's an as-built instead of anything else, which should also be pointed out that allegedly the AWS horn that was on the locomotive in 2015 when this happened was not the same one that was installed in 2000 when they put it in there. This may or may not have been just a just a pull component out replaced with same thing, but there's no documentation to support either of those.
So we'll never know.
We'll never know. What we do know is that the warning indicator, well, actually we do know, because you can see here, this is the location of where the horn was installed when Resco put it in. And this is where the horn was when the RAIB took their photographs, which are notably not in the same place.
Very much not in the same place, yeah.
I do kind of like it being right over the window, though.
It's directly
it should
over the
be right over your head.
It's directly
if you're
over
sitting
the driver's
in there.
head. It also, there's a bright orange light here that is supposed to flash whenever there's an AWS notification.
What color did you say it was?
Orange, same color as the fire.
Oh no.
So, now something that we need to note. We mentioned earlier that the locomotive had a small steam leak directly in front of the windows, right? Mel was driving the locomotive with his head out the window.
Okay.
So
like
add in all the noise
dog with his tongue out flapping away.
Probably.
Yeah, okay.
It's the greatest feeling in the world, running down the main line with your head out the window.
Just remember,
ears flapping in the wind.
The cab of the locomotive is 90 decibels. You also now have the window open, and your head is outside of the locomotive. So it's entirely possible that he did not hear anything at all. Just period, end of story. There was witness evidence, and we know this because witness evidence from the crews operating Tangier sometimes found it difficult to distinguish the AWS warning horn above the relatively high level of ambient noise present in the cab. And this issue was long-standing and had been reported by train crews to ops managers, which is why they moved the AWS unit. But it's still
totally appropriate response to that.
It still seemed to have issues after that when they moved the horn in 2013. So it still didn't work. This is one of those things where it seems like they at the very least tried, but they found themselves coming up against a legal boundary of you legally cannot have it be 95 decibels, even though that you probably need something to be 100 decibels, if not louder, to actually get anyone's attention. So, and of course, when your head is out the window, you don't see the orange light, you don't see the sunflower go off, and you don't see anything else.
It's a bit of a computer says no situation. If I was a designer in this situation, I would instantly be challenging the standard and deviating from it and say, well, no, I'm actually going to do it as 105, because if you're in a cab that's that, your ears will be naturally muting the sound,
Well-
so you need something louder, and then progressing that on that basis. Like it's shit work.
I
to
Do you
not
want to
actually
know what I
make
bet?
that challenge.
Do you want to know what I bet happened? Is that there's a concern probably that if this goes off when the locomotive is not on, like let's say they're moving it
Yeah,
with,
test cycle or something
or
like
the
that.
test cycle, and you accidentally like cause someone to have full on hearing damage, then you're liable for that, and so it's lawyers.
Or if the person installing it and testing it is doing so with the train static and with their little decibelometer,
Completely
without
dead.
any clue about the noise of the thing when it's moving, they've installed it. Why would they need to worry? They've matched they've got it to 95. Why would they need to worry
Well,
about it?
I've got the solution. I can't believe nobody thought of this before. We need an extra component to this, and that is the shock collar that is tied into all of this.
Collar, yeah.
So
why
the
don't you
shock
just
collar
have-
doesn't care if you're inside or outside or
Why
how
don't you
loud it
just-
is.
Why don't you just have a rod that goes straight up through the seat into the driver's ass?
The shock collar is a bit more sanitary.
Become very intimate with the machine. But anyway, so basically there was absolutely, under current regulations and with current operations, there was no way to increase the thing. It is hard to see the orange light and the TPWS lamp if you're not looking directly at it. It should also be noted that we have here where the AWS cock is, which it's low to the ground behind the seat, so that way it can't be activated just without looking, which is something that you've got to do because otherwise people will just be using it all the time. That's just how that engineering sort of works. It's not a bad place for it at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So that's the AWS stuff. Now we have to go into the final thing that we need to talk about before the accident, which is there was a speed restriction on the line leading to Wootton Bassett, which we'll talk about Wootton Bassett in a minute. But we just sort of need to talk about a speed restriction beforehand. And this will be fun for Gareth because we have a badly laid out signal.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So basically, the long and the short of it is that leading towards the junction at Wootton Bassett, which is where this incident occurred, it's on the West Coast Main Line.
No, Great Western.
The wrong one. It's on the Great Western Main Line on the up main. There's signal SN43 and then SN45, and right before SN45, there is a speed restriction. Okay. Now, the issue with this is that you've got SN43 is the distant, SN45 is the home. In the middle of all of this, you've got a speed restriction with an AWS magnet. Now, AECOM, which is a contractor for, at this point it would be Network Rail, had installed the what's it called, the temporary AWS magnet, but they had stated that the position, but here's the thing, nobody actually knew where SN43 really was. Gareth, you just
now this isn't believable. It's not like we don't store this sort of information in 16 different forms. Whether you've got your project change in meters, you've got a kilometrage from one datum point, you've got a mileage in miles and yards from another data point, you've got another system that's stored it slightly offset, you've got something that's used a snake grid rather than OSGB36, you have got miles and chains that have been tapped out, that have been wheeled out from the nearest milepost. It's not like we don't have 75 different ways of measuring position along our railway.
But do you want to read these 3 paragraphs, Gareth, and just sort of try and
go on.
Yeah. So do you
want me to read them out verbatim? I can just go through.
Yeah.
Okay. AECOM stated that the position of signal Sierra November 43 was given on signaling diagrams as being 83 miles for 54 chains. As there was no annotation on the diagrams to suggest otherwise, the fixed AWS magnet was assumed to be at the standard distance of 108 meters on approach to the signal. AECOM tried to confirm this by scaling off the signaling diagram. This suggested that the fixed AWS magnet was positioned somewhere between 180 and 200 meters from the signal. AECOM used the higher of the two figures in the design, and this should have meant the warning board was placed at the position of the fixed AWS magnet around 200 meters on approach to SM43. Yeah. So, because analysis of on-train data recording video images shows that the signal, Sierra November 43, is actually situated around 12 meters closer to the junction that was assumed in the design.
Whoops.
That's a whoops right there. The analysis also showed the fixed AWS magnet for Sierra November 43 is installed at a non-standard distance of almost 280 meters on the approach to the signal. This meant that the emergency speed restriction design inadvertently positioned the warning board around 212 meters on approach to the signal, and in a position where it would be in between the fixed AWS magnet and Sierra November 43. Doing this meant that the design did not comply with the relevant rules and standards. So we're slightly acquitting Mel here of what he's about to do by saying there is some other incompetence at play.
Yeah,
here.
there is. And then I love this last paragraph.
Yeah, this one's good. Network Rail were unable to confirm why the fixed AWS magnet for Sierra November 43 was at a non-standard distance. BR signaling alteration documents show that it had been installed at this position in 1978, but did not say why a longer distance was needed, and the relevant information was not contained in any of the other available records. I wonder if that's because they were putting a skip in the mid-90s.
So they just put it there for whatever reason. Now, I copied out of the RAIB report their official ruling on this bit with the speed restriction, which is that the minimum spacing for this would have been 2.5 seconds between like the alert for SN43 and the alert for the speed restriction.
Yes.
So the minimum time is 1.3. That's the minimum interval for locomotives to like actually hit the button.
Yeah.
Now, so they think that therefore it still should have been fine. It should have been fine. This is fine. If the driver was on it, they could still do it. And so they're trying to like absolve this odd ass placement of the AWS magnets, and it's not a distraction. I, however, will go against the RAIB and say that I think it is, because I think it's probably distracted Mel at exactly the wrong moment, because he's hanging his head out the window of the locomotive like a dog. He actually, I think he misses the SN43 buzzer. Like he's getting up to like 4 seconds before he hits the button, because his head's out the window, the engine is loud, he can't hear the buzzer, he can't see the sunflower, I'm sorry. And so there's no, so he eventually hits it, but the train starts to slow down. Now, there's a laissez-faire culture at this, so he tells the fireman to open up the AWS cock so that this so that the train doesn't do this. But what I think must have happened...
Are you laughing at the word cock? Did you say the word cock and did it make you giggle?
Yes,
no,
because we are all 12 here.
I've said it so many times I've become immune. But basically what I think happened is that between the AWS magnet and for the speed restriction and the signal, that basically he hit one and then got distracted by the emergency brake application that happened, and then missed the next one. And so, and as he was actively disabling the AWS system at the same time, he became task saturated enough that he took his eyes off the ball, missed that SN43 was displaying a danger aspect, not a danger aspect, a yellow aspect, and just kept on trucking, and just because he saw SN45.
Yes. Yeah. It's I think that's a pretty good rundown of conditions. I'd agree with all that. It's so train. Let's take a step back. So we've kind of Columboed this now. Let's take ourselves. Well, I tell you what. One of you needs to read a date out. Is what needs to happen. Even though we've kind of we have brewed it up, but
March who wants 7th, 2015. Desperately scrolling for the date. Yeah, that's right, because it was 2 days after. It. Yeah, yes. March 7th, 2015.
Okay, so March 7th, 2015. It's a date. We're almost to a time. This is what the train looked like as it rounded the curve, as it got closer to Wootton Bassett.
And like probably this photo was taken for me. Thinking about the geography, this might be like minutes before the incident. To be
Yes.
honest,
Yeah, this is we talked about this when we were putting this together. We think this is relatively near the site of the accident.
This looks like
Dur-
on the
around-
trip.
Around
yeah, this
Because
looks like
this-
the weavy windy bit that's on the approach to Box Tunnel or whatever. That's like between Bristol, Bath, and for anyone who doesn't know, the junction, Wootton Bassett Junction, the junction there is where the Great Western Main Line and the Badminton Line meet. The Badminton Line is the funny name for the fast line that goes towards South Wales, so the South Wales Main Line. And the old route of the Great Western Rail, the original Brunel Great Western Railway, continued on, and it starts slowing down as it goes through Box Tunnel and starts getting weavy through Bath, where Brunel shows off with his railway going through there, and then reaches Bristol Parkway the other side. Bristol Temple Meads. The Badminton Line goes through Bristol Parkway, so that's it's where the Great Western Main Line splits. Basically, is that junction, and this train's on the weavy windy bit on its approach to that junction. Honestly, I think like minutes away from the incident in question at this point. You can see there's low light, the weather conditions are right. It's a lovely day for it, in fact. And you can also see in this train, you can see the 12 Mark 1 and Mark 2 coaches, and you can see the GUV, the Mark 1 GUV immediately behind Tangmere as well. So we've talked about the makeup of the train.
Yeah.
There it is, at pace, with incidentally all the steam blowing into the face of the driver in this shot.
Yeah, and
This is the most perfect photo for this discussion.
It really is,
Yes.
yeah.
it's because the train was, and the time of the accident is right around 5:24. So we're getting right at the end of the day. It's probably just light enough to see like after 5 p.m. and it's in, you've got the sun coming down, so it's almost dusk but not quite.
Yeah.
Joe, you
Yeah,
need
yeah.
to close something. You started turning robot-y again.
Do I sound better now?
Oh, but yeah, you sound fine now.
I moved further away from the microphone to grab my phone for a moment.
I hope
I
that
have-
was it.
Let's look.
Pardon.
We're almost to the end. Right. So this is Wootton Bassett Junction as made by Zach.
I'm so
It's a
proud
ver-
of this.
It's a
It's
very
so
good
beautiful.
diagram.
I love it.
I'm so down badminton. There, I made the joke. Okay. Does anybody who knows about this want to tell me why there's a badminton and why there's an up and down badminton?
So
Uh,
the up and down line for badminton go towards the city of badminton or away from it, depending on which one you're on.
Well, they're going towards Bristol Parkway. So up and down Badminton are off towards Bristol Parkway, the Severn
What?
Tunnel in Wales.
What are you guys smoking over there?
Yeah, well, quite. So yeah, you are up to London and down away from London. That's that is the kind of the shorthand or the kind of the way that we describe direction on the railways in Britain. Mostly, apart from where we don't, but mostly that's where it is. And yes, so you've got the split of the Great Western Main Line, where it goes down towards Bath, is where the main lines are, and the up and down Badminton disappear off towards Bristol Parkway. Actually, that's the main route that most traffic goes is actually on the Badminton lines, and then there's a goods bypass as well, that gives you a bit of additional capacity through the junction.
And
Okay.
so now we need to go to the next slide. We have 1 Lima 76, which is an upbound train on the Badminton line coming onto the Great Western Main Line.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it is operated by a Class 43, seen here on the right.
It's an HST, everyone. It's an Intercity 125. It's an HST, yeah. Class 43 power car, bunch of Mark 3 coaches, and another 43 at the back. Yeah.
Seen here on the right in beautiful London Underground brown. No, I'm kidding. That's a pannier tank. But this is what it would have looked like. That's the livery they had at the time. Part of first group. Doesn't really matter. None of that bit is really relevant. Just that there was a train full of people.
Full of people
some-
innocently expecting their railway to be run at least vaguely competently.
And a poor driver who was doing everything absolutely by the book and then probably got wrangled into the investigation slightly, if nothing else than to go, what did you see?
Yeah.
It's like when you are doing nothing wrong, and so it's like, I've got a number for you to call. Oh fuck.
Oh, excuse me.
But
Hey,
but
go see the
anyway.
boss before you clock out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so here we've got SN43 and SN45. These delightfully high resolution pictures were provided by the RAIB. I believe the photos, the big photos, are from like the last inspection train to go through, and the inset photos were taken by the investigators during the follow-up investigation.
Why did they do it that way around? Because they made the high res one small and the one the Omni Surveyor low res image is big. Why did they do it that way around?
I'm not
Baffling.
certain. These pictures, none of the pictures they have in this are like in any way good. It's so.
It's not their best.
distressing.
It's not their best digital work.
Gareth, do you know anybody
you
at the
listen to Chrome
RAIB
Report
that you could ask?
Well, quite. Actually, yeah, I actually do have lots of contacts in the RIB. I could pest them. But anyway,
Potential future update.
Well, quite. But essentially, look, they've got better at this now. But these images are, they're not great. Some of these kind of.
It makes me feel like Wayne got an iPhone, and so they're like, you can take the picture. Saves us from pulling out the Nikon or whatever. Like some.
Anyway, we've got the view. We're in the train.
These
We're in the
two
cab.
signals are protecting 1 Lima 76 as it comes from the up badminton line to the up main. Sierra November 43 is showing a single yellow, which means be prepared to stop short of the next signal. And Sierra November 45 is showing a single red, which means you have to stop, which means that there is something in the way, or there will be something in the way soon, or switches are not lined for you yet, or all of the above.
Exactly. Flanking protection for the junction, or all of the above. Yeah, precisely.
So if we go to the next slide, now we get to see some stuff.
Shenanigans.
So at around 17:24 hours or 5:24 p.m., 1Z67, which is the 1 Zulu 67, I'm sorry, which is the charter train in question, was approaching Sierra November 43 at 59 miles an hour. God, I wish that we could have steam trains going that fast out here. When it passed over the temporary speed restriction. After about a second after this, AWS warning occurred. It took Mel 4.1 seconds to acknowledge this warning, by which time the AWS TPWS control unit already generated a brake demand.
Because remember, 2.7 seconds is the limit. 2.7 seconds is how long you have to cancel it. Yeah. After that, brakes are getting applied.
And because he missed it, he told the firemen to open the AWS isolating cock so that the train didn't come screeching to a halt on the main line. A fireman goes and does that. The AWS cock was not sealed before he opened it, so clearly it had been done at least once during like a reverse move at the station, because this train was coming from
Bristol Temple Meads,
from Bristol to London. So I think that it probably got moved when they were doing reversing work at turning the train at Bristol.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, while this is happening, they probably sail through the AWS magnet for Sierra November 43, and it goes unnoticed in the clamor. Nobody's really paying attention, and the system's disconnected, so just through it goes. On-train data recorder data also showed that a second warning occurred during this period. This was created by the fixed AWS magnet for Sierra November 43, which Mel acknowledged in 0.5 seconds, which also cleared...
He's paying attention now.
He's either paying attention or he thinks that it has something to do with either the existing AWS activation. So he's clear. I think he just punched it in like instinctually and saw it, but did not comprehend. So at some point on the approach to SN45, he did actually see the signal was a danger and stood on the brakes. Just like full, oh shit, panic stopping. You can see here that we're going,
But also remember, he's only using the vacuum brakes, so only 12 of the 13 carriages are providing braking effort. And because they're using vacuum brakes, they're not providing as much as they could as if they were equipped with automatic air brakes. So it takes longer to stop this train.
And that's exact. And it takes so long, in fact, that as one Lima 76 cruises off into the distance, one Zulu 67 eventually skids to a halt directly on top of the switch for the up badminton line.
Like, and the time, the time difference between the trains passing each other is seconds.
Yeah,
Like-
like under a minute, under 30 seconds, definitely, like, to the point where if the tracks were clear and if he'd had, like, if there hadn't been a curve and he'd seen it better, like if he'd been able to see out the front of the locomotive, Mel probably would have shit himself. Like that
Yes.
level of like, that was close, but nobody did. But they were not aware of it. Mel definitely was aware that he had done something wrong, because they reported this to the dispatcher, claiming that SN43 was clear, which in fairness, if he didn't see it, he probably thought it was.
Yeah.
So it briefly was reported as a signal malfunction before someone from Network Rail went out and looked at it and was like, "Oh, fuck, it's not malfunctioning. That's bad," and called in, and he was met at the platform by people to be like, no, you need to go speak to someone right now.
Yep. Yeah, not a good situation for anyone involved, but 717 passengers and around 45 crew involved here.
Yeah.
If we're talking seconds of difference here, this could have been horrible, because you're talking about a steam train hitting the back of a express passenger train at pace. The train, a big metal lump hitting a tiny little fiberglass high-speed diesel unit with a bunch of Mark III coaches behind that would have just been scattered. That it would have been appalling.
Imagine if he hadn't seen
appalling.
SN45.
Oof. Yeah, essentially that's the crux of it.
Yeah.
And we're talking a minute or less of difference here, which if you sit there for a minute, that seems like a long time. But when it comes to disasters, that's very, very, very close. A minute is way too close to disaster.
This would have been like a triple-digit speed impact, because 1Z67 was going 60 miles an hour, and I think like the max speed through the interlocking here was like 90 or something, so the HST was properly booking it. And so it was probably doing like...
Well, it would have been rear. They'd have both been moving in the same direction, so it would have been the speed...
it would have been cut down a little bit.
It would have been cut down a little bit, but it would have been bad. I simply would not want to have my ass butted by a kind of a rogue Tangmere steam locomotive, like some kind of goat.
Oh, I was thinking that
coming up and getting me up the ass.
I was
don't
thinking
want
brand new sentence.
That is a brand new sentence. I was thinking Tangmere would actually have like gone into the side of the HST as like a merging accident or something.
Oh,
that also would have been horrendous.
Would have been horrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
None of what we're talking about here is good, folks.
This is the best
it's all
of the
horrible.
bad outcomes by far. They didn't even damage any of the interlocking, because the signals, the switches changed so quickly that the train slid across and didn't even damage anything.
Yeah. No harm done, other than all the harm that could have been done. Yeah.
So, speaking of harm that could have been done, let's see the repercussions from this accident. Actually,
so extensive, right?
Yeah.
No, not extensive.
Kind of.
Some things happened.
West Coast Rail ended up being out around $264,000, because there was a $200,000 fine plus court costs of $64 pounds. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
£264,000 in total. Mel ended up getting a suspended prison sentence, which is really weird to hear that like someone actually gets done for this.
I know, right?
And then Tangmere was bricked up into a tunnel and never allowed to hurt anyone ever again. Oh wait, no, that's not what happened at all. Now
No.
we have to go to the next slide though, because the next slide is really where it's like, oh, this was all meaningless. Because so
yeah, this was not a fun one to research.
so
No.
yeah.
They okay, you know how in the U.S. when a cop does an extrajudicial killing, he's just fired from that department and then goes to like a neighboring police department and continues work like nothing happened.
Yeah.
This is the
Yep.
railway equivalent because
Yeah.
Mel's still. Well, I don't know about still. I don't even know if he's still around, but he went right back to working for the Swanage.
Yeah. Well, no, we
Right
know
back
he's still
on it,
around
no
because this article is from January of 2025.
That's
is
almost
from-
a year ago now.
Yeah. So
He's
He-
old,
it's a- he
old
might
as the
well be-
hills. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. That's what I'm implying.
He might well have his yeah.
how old is he? So he was born in 1949. That would make him in his 80s.
Yeah.
Surely he has at least another 10 years of endangering everyone around
Hasn't
him.
done it how I
You
feel
know what,
about
yeah,
not
usually the-
driving trains of people in them, but there we go.
Usually the ones who fuck up the most are the ones who live forever.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
but yeah,
painfully
in
true.
January, Mel was demoted to driver at the Swanage, but continued to volunteer there, continues to operate trains as far as we're aware. West Coast Railways took the 260K on the chin and kept on trucking. This particular article from last September was specifically about the dispute they were having with Network Rail over the fact that, hey, you really shouldn't be using these ancient coaches with no locks on the doors.
Yeah, this is the question here is: have West Coast Railways improved their safety culture?
No.
No is the answer because
Marginally,
marginally
if they got rid of Mel.
They covered it. They could cover it up.
Well, they could dump it all on Mel and pretend that everything's fine afterwards. But no, we're in a situation where no, as it happens, there's still quite a substantial amount of controversy around the central door locking, with them threatening the OR, saying, "Yeah, but we'll go bust," and the OR, unfortunately, kind of having their bluff called a bit. And yeah, I wonder who it is who's fighting tooth and nail to make sure that the minimum money is spent on these. The thing is, right? It's Smith again, by the way. It's our boy. Yeah,
David
pour one
Smith.
out. David Smith. The frustrating thing is that the charter sector in the UK, it's this lot, or it's the Nazi, it's the fascist guy,
It's
Jeremy Hosking,
Locomotive Service Limited,
Yeah.
or DB Schenker, who are
and they don't really do much anymore. DB Schenker are kind of like looking for the door, to be honest, in operations, and DB Cargo kind of have a mixed relationship with charters on the network these days. Like, so you haven't really got much of a choice, a positive choice. You've got this lot who are to this day still fighting safety improvements, or you've got the fascist guy who you give money to him and he gives it directly to Lawrence Fox's latest legal case. It's
bad or worse.
Or worse.
Would
Quite.
you prefer an accident or a ScotRail livery driven by a fascist?
Hey, I don't mind the ScotRail livery. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's the the original ScotRail livery. Yeah, I don't. It's a gorgeous livery. It upsets me that Hosking has all. Okay, his Pullman on a HST is wank, but all of the other. Unfortunately, he has all of the sexy intercity livery and indeed some Swallow liveried trains. He's got electrics with it's all lovely BR era stuff. It makes me very sad that it's the fascist who owns all that.
Yes,
But
it's
there we
all
go.
terrible.
It makes
and
me
then,
very sad.
Obviously, the question is, what happened to Tangmere after this? Well, this is all from a Discord server that I'm in. I love you guys. As we can see here.
Oh no! Oh no!
Tangmere blew her cylinder out at some point. I love this meme. ORR reports West Coast Rail, Tangmere, the North Yorkshire Moors, West Coast Network Rail, and then everybody else down at the bottom. This one down here is in relation to Tangmere setting the Cumbrian coast on fire.
They did do that, yeah.
Blowing the piston out, getting bricked up in a tunnel, obviously. I do like just the general guys. Tangmere is at it again. And then this exchange is my favorite. I think if a steam engine was capable of seeing a plastic bag in the wind and breaking a leg about it, they probably would. There's a reason Tangmere threw a motion over the main line. She saw a plastic bag. She spatted because someone waved a brightly colored hanky at her. And then, of course, we have a video, which
Oh, not another one.
oh, this you don't maybe just it. I don't think it has sound, so you don't have to mute yourself or anything.
Okay.
What's wrong with what happens here? There's something very wrong going on.
Oh dear. That running gear
If
was
you're not watching,
moving.
the wheels weren't moving. It was so this was a move that presumably had a diesel locomotive
Yeah.
leading, dragging this train out, and the Tangmere's at the rear, and the wheels are just not moving as this train is moving along. You're going to learn the definition of critical flat
track.
spots.
Yeah,
My lovely track, and yes, flat spots on the train, but also just all the scratching and scraping, and all 10 years down the line, all of the Tasho valves and all of the shelling that my rail's going to have from all the defects caused by that thing being dragged across my track.
What I do love is all of these are from like the last 2 years. This is just from like 2023 and onwards.
Tangmere is.
We had talked about earlier that connecting rod being dropped because of what was it, a cudgeon pin?
Yeah,
potentially falling out. They never really looked and found out. The blown out cylinder. I've seen this happen before, and it was caused by a pin on the connecting rod falling out, and thus on the forward stroke of the piston, the connecting rod not being connected to anything didn't provide the resistance, so the piston just went forward as far as it could, which then included out of the cylinder.
Oh, yeah. It's another case of that sound effect.
It's just this engine is a clusterfuck.
It is.
David Smith deserves it. So, yeah. So that's Tangmere for you, and now
so
we have to. What did we learn?
What I learned is if I'm going to be a commuter in the greater Great Britain area as a whole, because I don't know where all this thing operates, I'm going to, before I commute on a train, I'm going to take a look at the heritage train schedules and see if the Tangmere is operating anywhere in the area that I'm going to be traveling, and then reschedule accordingly.
The chances of Tangmere making it to the Circle Line are low, but they are never zero.
They're never zero. So look, this event, it's kind of there is a bigger cultural picture here, which is, I have a mixed relationship with my feeling of where the charters should be on the British Railway network at all. My view is increasingly as capacity becomes limited on a network, no. And if safety culture of the main operators are, either safety culture in West Coast Railways or fascist culture led from the top by the Hosking twat. You know what? Maybe they don't deserve their place on a massively congested railway. And the other challenge is that there are a couple of other problems in that charters. Some people say, well, charters bring out the best in the railway. It's like, well, do they? I wouldn't describe any of this incident as the best of the railway.
We've seen several examples of the not the best, maybe not the worst, but certainly not the best.
Yeah, close to the worst. They also result in so the idea that like these attitudes, because they are seen by some people in the charter sector and the heritage sector like, well, how they do it now is wrong, and I'm going to stubbornly do it my way because my way was right, and I'm a boomer, absolutely those people can go and, but also the pressures have come from the top. Like the current rail minister to this day still phones and pressures Network Rail's gauging staff to prioritize charter bullshit over actual railway stuff. I'm not sharing anything hidden. That's a well-known.
Who was it?
I'm not going to mention by name, but everyone knows who I'm referring to. So and absolutely that happened within the organization when he was chair of the organization as well. It is. He has always been a bully, and that behavior continues to this day because it's his charter mates. And unfortunately, also the side effect of this is that the culture in the railway in terms of its attitudes more broadly often tie back to some of these attitudes of the charter sector and the seeing the railway as, well, it's, yes, it moves people around and get freight around, but actually it's still a wonderful heritage toy to play with first and foremost. So fuck those people.
I would like to remind everyone that Gareth is happy and has a family.
I do.
He is in no he is no danger to himself, and should anything happen, you should investigate it to the fullest ability possible.
Absolutely. If I'm found with with an uneaten KFC on the passenger seat, yeah. Anyway,
I would like to touch a little bit on what you were mentioning about the whole cultural deficiency here, and there's a quote that I think is very apt that I heard recently, and it is, tradition is a dangerous substitution for critical thinking.
absolutely.
Yeah. No,
It's
totally.
a lovely summary of it, actually. A very neat little kind of bit of punctuation on our story, on our story tale.
That's from one of my favorite coworkers. So, MP, if you end up here, thank you very much for that quote. It now lives in my head rent free.
Absolutely.
Also, something else we should do is probably put Tangmere in a museum and get a more deserving locomotive out on the main line. Restore Caerphilly Castle and run it on the main line.
Can we like try to get the curse off of it? Can we get?
I don't
not a Catholic priest. Can we get like a witch or something to come out?
Is it? Well, actually, hold on. We would need an Anglican priest first of all, because.
Well, yeah, I think there's only one way that you can get the curse off Tangmere.
How many gallons of holy water do we need to put in the car wash before we send this thing through it?
You got to boil the holy water in the boiler, fill the tender with it. Burn a little bit of peat to appease the spirit of Ali Bullied.
I guess we can I guess that's kind of that, isn't it, folks?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
that's kind of it, because then we go into the end bit, which we recorded months and years ago. Yeah,
we have one more slide to do, but that we already recorded that one when we had the technical difficulties, and so we'll see. We're going to the next. We're going to the next slide. We're going to the next slide that you will see, but we won't, and so that's it.
Beautiful.
Cool.
There we go.
Yep.
Right.
Fantastic.
Stop on that. Let me just hit stop here. Do we have another slide? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Last bit, Joe. I'm going to preface this. Your story is a lot.
I know.
Can you condense it?
Yes.
Because we are getting long in the tooth right now.
I'm aware. It's great. This is a perfect podcast. It has Gareth in it. Nobody will notice how long it is. It's okay. So if you'll notice that there's a picture of a gun, this is a segment that I am tentatively naming "Did You Almost Die?" I think in future I might change it to the scene from Hangover where it goes, "But did you die?" But in any event, "Did you almost die?" which is how were you almost killed on public transport. We still haven't gotten any submissions from you, the listener, presumably because no one has made it to the end of a podcast episode yet. But so this is one from each of us. A trigger warning, I guess. This involves guns. Do practice proper trigger.
All three.
I can't. Yeah.
All three stories.
All three involve guns. So I figure I'm hit.
Missed me.
But
nope. Still missed.
Okay, so
sorry.
Who thinks theirs is the shortest?
Oh, mine's the shortest, I think.
Okay, let's start with the shotgun with the British flag next to it.
Yes. So basically, I've got so many of these. I'm curious to see.
Beautiful.
It's marvelous. So, I was working on a project now known as East West Rail. It wasn't at the time, and I was close to a place they called Oxford, where they have a university there. But there's a lot of other stuff that goes on. It's a middlingly interesting place. It's old and it's not anyway. But it's old and full of old people, and also a bunch of students. point being, I was out doing geotech surveys. I was overseeing geotechnical surveys, so digging up bits of ballast and doing coring work and various things. And there were some problems with local landowners on this project, and the local landowner on a particular stretch of line that I was working on decided to first of all point a shotgun at, come down looking very obviously pissed. This is someone who has a bulbous, like, lumpy nose that's bright red. This is someone who's
I was
wearing,
about
like,
to ask if it was bright red. That dude's an alcoholic. I can already tell.
Yeah.
red corduroys, someone who's like extremely rich but actually not with any liquidity type, like that kind of British landed gentry, like lower upper class, like bottom end of the upper class scale.
There was a Guy Ritchie about the movie about these people.
Yes, exactly. And literally, yes, the guy out, the gentleman. So he waved a shotgun at the survey team and proceeded to fire the shotgun over our heads. And when the police came to guide him away, with us having phoned the police and tried to de-escalate, they kind of just politely put him in the back of the police car and I think drove him back to his big manor house. And that was the end of it. I don't think there was anything pursued at that point. Which is just sort of tells you what kind of redneck country the Cotswolds are. Yeah.
Gareth, did this happen in the UK or did it happen in Kentucky?
Well, quite. I was going to say there's a shaking hands meme between like Kentucky rednecks and like type old posh men who just, it's all vowels.
Actually, I'll make that meme and we'll post it somewhere in here. But that can either be where you were or the guys that live about 1,000 feet behind me.
Yeah. So yeah, shotgun. Yeah, crikey.
Zach, okay, I'll do mine. So, okay, I'm going to be quick. So, this did not happen to me in a place of work like the other two. This happened while I was being a foamer. So, I live in Ohio. I am in between Cleveland and Toledo. Please do not dox me. I live about 2.5, 3 hours from Pittsburgh. Okay, Pittsburgh is a city in Pennsylvania that is, after my most recent visit, a shithole. It's a shithole. I hate it. I don't want to go back there. Anyways, they have their transit system.
Sorry, wrong drop. What I meant there was there. Thank you, Liam. Yeah.
Their transit system is called the T. It's got 3 different light rail lines that go around town. It's not very well developed, but it's basically old streetcar lines. They go underneath Mount Washington, which is right across the river from downtown. And when that tunnel is closed, they have to take a diversion through a part of the city called Allentown. That is one of the more insane bits of railroading I've ever seen, because to get up to Allentown, you have to go up a 9.5% grade.
Ooh.
In a streetcar. And these are not like little rinky-dink ones. These are bigger than city buses. These are proper LRVs. I went out there. You can see the hood of my car in the corner of the picture because I took this with a wide-angle lens. This is, if I will happily dox these people. This was the intersection of Aztec and Warrington in Pittsburgh. Warrington is the big street that the streetcars run down. Aztec is like an alley. I pull up side of the street, normal street parking, and I am taking pictures. And within about 45 seconds to a minute and a half, some local crazy person meanders her way over and starts like videoing me because she has apparently been getting odd phone calls. I assume they're like spam calls from Ohio, from an Ohio area code. Ohio, the state directly over that is like borders Pennsylvania. And so she saw my Ohio license plate and decided to freak out and tell me to leave and like saying things like, "I'll spray you, get out of here," all that sort of things. Like, and I'm just sort of like, okay, I've never met you before, that sort of thing. I dismiss her as a passing crazy and continue about my day because she meanders away. No, she was going to get her much bigger friend who had a gun in his pocket.
Oh,
so
good.
I promptly left, called 911, and was directed to a local police precinct to sort of like give a statement on this. Because as it turns out, I had parked in front of this woman's house. That's why she was so mad about this. I go to the local police station, and because it's not like a busy precinct, it was unstaffed at the time. So there's like a little vestibule right inside where there's a door to the outside, then the door to the inside, and the inside door was locked. I'm standing there on the phone with 911, and I'm like, okay, I think I might go sit in my car because there's no officers here. I want to be there when the officers show up. I turn around to walk outside, open the door. This bitch thinks that I'm stalking her, so she walked her ass to the police station to make a statement and was rounding the corner as I opened the door. I had to hold the door of the police station shut to not let her in, at which point officers showed up, and I was told I could go after they took down my information. One of the Pittsburgh cops was so helpful, was like, oh, you're not from around here, so you can just not come back. I'm like, that, man, that is not the issue here. That is not remotely the issue here. So I left. I have no intent on returning. This was on a Sunday. On Tuesday, I went out and I bought a gun. That Saturday,
Most American statement I've ever heard.
Yeah.
no, and then that Saturday, because of some very good timing, at my local range, I went out and got my concealed carry permit. So now I can carry in 45 U.S. states. And I'm not going foaming without a gun ever again.
Second most American statement.
So that's it. I almost got like killed in like a proper like shooting for the crime of wanting to see trolleys go up a hill.
But did you
And
die?
being from Ohio, no, that's the one plus. But yeah, Pittsburgh
so I
sucks.
didn't get killed by the old posh guy. So in a way, all of us are liars. Well, no, we almost died, I suppose. So we haven't. We're within the remit of the segment.
Yeah. Also, this podcast is called "Somehow You Didn't Die."
Oh, that is true. That is true. It's my Audacity recording is hitting 4 hours and 24 minutes.
Yep. So let's be very.
My body is in shutdown mode. So if
Mine's
I'm
quick.
delirious with chaos, that's fine. That's why I'm hovering over various. Oh Lord!
No, that first one was exactly what I heard. When the two images on the left happened.
Oh dear!
I was running a train through the middle of downtown Dallas, and I came around this sweeping. No, I won't say sweeping. It's fairly tight, but it's open enough that I could see the entire length of the train throughout this left-hand curve.
Yeah.
And I heard a loud, it was a warm night, so I was running with the windows open in the cab. I heard a loud pop right behind me, and I looked back in the mirror to see a guy on the sidewalk next to the train tracks turn around and run away from where I was going. And
Had he shot at his own reflection out of confusion?
No, because the windows were higher than him.
Oh.
I don't know what it was, but I got a weird... I kept going, but I got a weird feeling at the next station, told the dispatcher that I needed to step out of the cab for a moment and go back and take a look at something, and found this window that had been shot right behind the cab.
I mean, the glass is bulletproof, which is impressive.
Fantastic. But remember, this is right behind the cab. I was running with the windows open.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
So I found that, and that I have... this was close to a decade ago. I still have no idea why, or I know how and when. I don't know who. No fucking idea who that was that ran off. I just know that absolutely ruined my night because I was on a pair of cars that were working together very well. And because I now had a window that was shot out and I had reported it, I had to change trains. And my very nice train was exchanged for one that was having a propulsion issue with the motors and was restricted to 42 miles an hour and I timed it, 2 minutes and 6 seconds to get up to 42 miles an hour.
Oh my goodness.
At full throttle.
Oh dear.
It ruined my night. But yeah, that was the time I got shot at on the dart.
That's hot. I hate that. I hate every single minute of that.
I was more mad about the fact that I got a shitty train in the exchange than the fact that I got shot at.
A nice train, and then someone blasted the window.
But
well,
it
these
did.
are
It
all
was very nice to see firsthand that the windows are indeed bulletproof, because I had heard that anecdotally, but there is no documentation available to me.
Bulletproof glass is that it's also good at like being flighted ballast proof and such. So most trains have windows that are capable of being bulletproof inadvertently, but that one does look particularly bulletproofy designed.
There
wonder
was
if
no
it
bullet
also-
inside. There was glass inside, but the little quote
I wonder
unquote
if it
softer
being-
bits.
I wonder if it being like the corner of the window helped, because there's a curve, so there's no sharp angle from the window being at the edge. It might be stronger.
I don't know if you
I
hit
don't know,
the
but it
corner.
was-
Corner is worse actually. If the middle is where all the energy be dissipated, the fact that it's on the edge more likely to break. So no, it's a good window design. Fair play. I mean, is that yeah? I suppose
I'm not sure. I just know that I had heard that they were bulletproof, but honestly, knowing this former employer, I wouldn't have been surprised to find out that it was just a piece of plate glass
yeah.
with a little sticker that said it was made by North American Safety Glass on it.
Yeah, North American Safety Glass. Yeah, that's nice.
But yeah, that was the closest I
So all of us
ever got.
All of us have had weapons wobbled around.
I would also like to point out, just to make it clear, that my incident with the gun happened 2 months ago. Last month. Happened.
Yeah, it was last month. I remember.
Yeah, it was last month. This is very recent.
So, if you have any gun-related transit stories,
Or
please
any
email us
transit-related story.
at syddoywtw@gmail.com. We want to hear, did somebody like try to hijack your train or something wild? If it's fun, we're interested in hearing about it. If there's an NTSB report about it, we are going to put your email on hold until the NTSB report comes out, but we will tell your story. This is we know we don't have a large audience. We thank you for listening. Nonetheless, the few of you who do, please tell your friends about it, and please encourage them to submit stories to us. That email is long and painful. I don't want to say it again. It will be in the description of wherever you listen to this. I'm sorry I made it that complicated.
People don't need to know the email address. They just find it, copy paste it into their browser.
We're also
Click on
on
the link.
Instagram. If you would like to reach out to us on social media.
Are we announcing that yet?
Yeah, I've made a post on it already.
Oh shit! News to me.
Yeah,
okay, yeah, we have an Instagram.
You Didn't Die podcast on Instagram. All one word with no apostrophe. I made an Edmund Fitzgerald Day post, so yes.
Good lad.
So yeah,
but I think that's it for me.
Yeah.
Once again, foamers ruin everything.
Foamers ruin everything. I
would
like to
run a railroad.
What's that English term? Greiser?
Greisers, chuffernutters.
Chuffernutters.
I feel like Greiser feels grittier and grosser and more appropriate for this.
Funnily enough, I always heard Greiser in relation to bus foamers. I didn't know it was a universal term for a long time.
Well, it is supposed to be railway. In the UK, it's railway only, really, Greisers.
Huh.
And we used to have and charter trains get called GreiseXs because we always had X to the end of a special train. So, like if it's a football train, it was Footex. So GreiseXs are what we call charters occasionally.
But yeah,
beautiful.
We have now reached with our recording. I just want to look at mine. 4 hours, 38 minutes.
It's not real if you don't look at it.
I have looked at it, so it is real. I would like to say very much thank you, Gareth, so much for being here.
Thank you very much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure.
I've had so much fun. I'm going to be up in 3 hours, but I've had so much fun.
I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry. If you
everyone listening, there's a time differences are a bummer.
Yes, but so Joe and I already deal with one that's an hour difference. That's a little bit of an issue sometime, but then we introduce a guest who's 6 hours ahead of me.
I know it's a shambles. No, I've had so much fun. This was miserable, but also entertaining. I'm so sorry that I had.
It's hard to listen to this.
I'm so sorry I had the drops deck up. I've caused untold misery throughout.
No, do not apologize for that.
Fantastic.
I can only So for me, what do people? If people want to come and see stuff,
yes,
that I do, then
do your plugs.
There's a book, How the Rails Will Fix the Future. which is more available in the US than it is in the UK in terms of you can find it in your local bookstore because the Onan group, run by an Israeli genocidaire, is hopeless. And just screwed up the negotiation with the book people. I can't think about it. It's been a bestseller anyway, despite not being on major shelves in the UK. But what's nice is it's currently, there's a copy of it in the MTA Museum. There's a copy of it in several railroad themed places in the US, and that's fun. Every picture I get sent of the book makes me very happy. So yeah, those two things, Rail Natter and other such nonsense that I get up to. I pop up in various other locations as well. WTYP, but this was great. I had such fun.
This
Thank
was
you.
a lot of fun.
We could do stuff earlier if you want next time.
Hopefully we can find it. Hopefully we can find an episode that it doesn't take 4.5 hours, like the one where the Deltic ran away down a branch line because it ran over something.
I would like to do that.
You're diverting.
We're finished. The episode is over. I'm going to hit stop.
Hit end right now. Hit